personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
we rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more. No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen? They play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. 3 more days for the new year. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. I am the Sports Loudmouth. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth, which airs every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in to our show is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And to call the show, all you have to do is dial 631-672-3108. Speeder, what's up, man?
Don't worry, I remember to turn the phone on this time, so there will not be any issues of Jeff being delayed by 20 minutes, but that might have been for the better because he likes to insult New Yorkers anyway.
Well, that's true. I mean, everybody in this community of craziness on our network loves to, I guess, all the fans out there that don't, or they're not from New York, love to attack us as New Yorkers. They all do. And that's fine. You have your own opinion. I have mine. And I don't take shots at Boston people, or do I? But
yeah.
Listen, I think with sports, everybody has their own opinion. And obviously, Boston fans have their own opinion about New York fans and other fans, too. I mean, Boston doesn't like L.A. They don't like Texas. They don't like anybody. They just like each other. But that's my own opinion. But we do have a great show lined up for everybody tonight at 9:00. We will be talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton, Warriors, 49ers, and Mets fans. So we'll get a little into some basketball, a little into football, a little into baseball as the Mets are absolutely striking out this offseason. And at 9:30, we'll be talking to 97.3 ESPN and USA Today 76ers and NBA analyst, our friend, Austin Krell. And Austin and me have our own differences when it comes to basketball. So that will be fun. I'm telling you right now, Austin is now working for 97.3 ESPN. He is a great writer. He writes great stories, especially about the 76ers, as he is a 76er fan. And I have a lot to get into about the 76ers. As the 76ers are a good team in the Eastern Conference, Joel Embiid is having another MVP year, but they're not the same team they were last year. And we will get into the Maxwell thing and everything else going on with the 76ers and the NBA as the New York Knicks lose again. Well, they're playing good basketball, but they lose again against OKC. So we'll get into that. Wander Franco summoned by authorities in the Dominican Republic and now has gone missing. So he is completely disappeared. Okay. Wander Franco, $180 million player for the Tampa Bay Rays, has completely disappeared. So we'll get into that. Broncos were reportedly ready to bench Russell Wilson back in week 8, as we spoke about this yesterday. Even more of a saga behind the Russell Wilson, I guess you could say, sitting. So we will get into that. The Cowboys are likely to give Dak Prescott a new contract, making him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. So I've been saying this. He deserves it. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. He's an MVP candidate. He's probably not going to win. It looks like it's going to be Lamar Jackson. I know our friend from last night thinks differently, but I disagree. So we will get into that a little bit later in the show. The Penguins are likely to trade Genzel and would consider trading Sidney Crosby at the trade deadline. I don't think this is going to happen. If Sid the Kid gets traded, he's going to go to a team that obviously is a Stanley Cup contender and a team that he wants to go to, just like Patrick Kane, who went to the Rangers. So maybe he wants to go play for the Rangers. I don't think so, but hey, anything's possible. Joel Embiid comments about trade rumors, his playing time, and also Wemby's hype and slow start. So, and by the way, Wembanyama is playing pretty good basketball. He's not having the season that everybody thought he was going to have, averaging probably around 23, 24 points. Right now, he's averaging 18 points and somewhere around 8 or 9 rebounds. He should be playing better, but again, he's a rookie and he's still figuring things out, and he has to get his basketball body. Let's parlay with Hector and Reno Johnny will be joining us tonight, and Week 17 picks. So, I do want to get into the Wander Franco thing because it's becoming such a story, not only in the MLB, but throughout the country if you're a sports fan, because this guy was arguably the best young shortstop in baseball, okay? He had 17 home runs, I think, last year or something like that, or 22 home runs, and he was hitting 280. He was having a fantastic year. It was his first time as an all-star, and then all of a sudden this story came out after the All-Star game, and he was suspended. And now nobody knows where he is. ESPN reports that Wander Franco had been summoned by authorities in the Dominican Republic to answer questions regarding his allegations of relationships with several young children. Franco and his lawyer did not show up. Yes, did not show up to their scheduled meeting on Thursday morning. Other reports mention Franco has fired other lawyers on his legal team as well. Authorities have since been searching for Franco, but have been unable to locate him. 2 people have filed official legal actions against Franco, and he is under investigations for relationships with 3 minors. I don't know why you said a third minor. 3 minors. Franco had been put on administrative leave by the MLB August 12th. Franco is still owed $172 million by the Rays after signing a big contract in 2021. This story is going to grow legs, ladies and gentlemen. And there's a reason why this story is going to grow legs. And one of the main reasons why it's growing legs is because the Tampa Bay Rays, I really believe, struck out, first of all, before the season, giving him a $180 million contract. And this story has been out before the season, before he was given that $180 million contract. So Tampa probably brushed it under the rug. They didn't think it was going to really hit, I guess, out there, throughout the social media market, which it is baseball, and he is a star, and that usually happens when he's a big star. But Wander Franco, again, is still one of the best young players in the league. He's 22 years old. But now that the authorities can't find him, baseball is trying to figure out what they're going to do with him, or they've already figured out what they're going to do with him, and that probably never play another game of MLB baseball again if this story becomes true. Now, also, this guy is a multimillionaire. And these kids, or family of kids, and they're saying there's 3 parties that are arguably saying that he was doing sexual things to them and had sexual relationships with them at underage. Now, Wander Franco is 22 years old. And I'm going to say this because I said this about the Giddey story. If Wander Franco was dating these girls when he was 20 years old, I understand that the age is 18 in the Dominican Republic. There has to be a number of years that would make sense where you cannot date underage girls. Now, if they were, I don't know how old they were.
The one that was reported was 14. We don't know.
Well, that's really underage. So if he was 20 and she was 14, he's 6 years the elder, and she is under 18. But if he was 20 and she was 16, that's what, a 4-year difference? I don't look at that as being as bad as it would be if Wander Franco was 28 and she was 16 or 14 years old. So I understand. And now I don't know the truth to these stories. And again, these minors are looking for money. Okay. That's what it is. Now, we've seen this before, and these allegations could be untrue. But if Wander Franco has disappeared, obviously these stories could be true. And he's trying to duck and weave the authorities. I don't know where he thinks he's going to run. He's still owed $170 million, $72 million by the Rays. Why would he run from that? And honestly, when you look at the big picture here, if he pays these people off, these families off, these charges will be dropped. We've seen this before. Greg Hardy almost killed his girlfriend. He beat the hell out of her. He practically drowned her in his toilet. That's what he did. He beat the hell out of her. And he went to the court. He went through the court system. And what happens? He pays her off. And it was thrown out of court. This goes on in all professional sports when it's domestic violence, sexual assault, all these guys. The whole Rice situation. Remember the whole Rice? The only reason why Rice got in trouble the way he did was because it was recorded. It was videotaped when he was in the elevator. If there was no cameras in the elevator, he doesn't really get in trouble. It probably gets thrown out. The same thing happened, to what's his name again? The running back. Kareem Hunt. He kicked a woman. It was recorded, and that's why he got in trouble. So obviously videotape does throw all these guys under the bus. There is no video on Wander Franco. Now, Wander Franco, they searched through his house. Maybe they found certain things. I don't know. Maybe he recorded these sexual acts with these younger girls. I don't know what type of person Wander Franco is behind closed doors. I don't know. But what we do know right now, that the Dominican Republic authorities is trying to find this guy, and he completely disappeared, including his lawyer. So I don't know what is going to happen in the next couple of days. I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But the Rays, honestly, when you look at this big picture, they have to drop him. They have to let him go. Now, they're going to have to pay him this money because he signed a contract. It's guaranteed money unless something in his contract states that if he does anything or he doesn't play out a certain amount of time or a certain amount of games or a certain amount of years, he doesn't get all his money. But he is going to get the majority of this $172 million. But again, looking and understanding the story, I don't understand the Giddey story. I didn't understand the Josh Giddey story. And Josh Giddey right now is not in trouble because obviously the girl that he was hanging out with that was 16 years old, Her family doesn't want to press charges. The authorities want to press charges on him. Her family doesn't. So that's why Josh Giddey has not been suspended by the NBA. They're investigating the story, and the NBA could do whatever the hell they want. As we all know, these organizations could do whatever they want, even if these guys don't see criminal time or the authorities go after them. Again, this Juan DeFranco story, I don't know the laws in the Dominican Republic. I do know that you have to be within 18 years old to date anybody over the age of 21. In the United States, I don't know the laws here. I think it's 16. If I'm not mistaken, is it 16 or 17 that you have to be? I don't know the laws here, but I usually, if you're over 21, you can't date a girl over 18. That's what most people would tell you. But I don't know the laws here in the United States. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. I don't know. We do know that the Dominican Republic, it is 18 years old. So Juan DeFranco is in a lot of trouble. I think he knows he's in a lot of trouble. I think he knows that the authorities got enough information now to put him away, or at least arrest him, or have questions for him that he needs to answer, and he don't want to answer them. So I feel bad for these young ladies if these stories are true, but I also know that these young ladies have families that want to benefit from this. The Dominican Republic it's not a very rich place to live. We all know that. Most of these families are poor. Juan DeFranco just walked into a $180 million contract, and they know that they can make millions off of this situation. And it's not like these girls were just not willing to give Juan DeFranco a good time. They obviously did, because they wouldn't, or he wouldn't have progressively tried to move in on these girls if they weren't interested in him.
Yeah, there's two things that don't go with Juan DeFranco's side right now in comparison to the Josh Giddey story. In the Josh Giddey story, the family of the alleged victim, was being not cooperative with the authorities. As far as we know, Josh Giddey so far has been cooperative with the authorities. I think if he wasn't, then the NBA would have done something by now. In Juan DeFranco's case, him firing a bunch of guys on his legal team, him going missing in a country that is an island nation. So it's not a lot of geography in comparison to the U.S. If you were to try to, there are states that are bigger than the Dominican Republic as a country in the U.S. So the fact that he wasn't found by now, so he's hiding out very well. He knows something is up. That seems very suspicious in itself. He fires a bunch of guys on his own legal team. His own lawyer, his main lawyer, doesn't show up. If that doesn't show something of guilt, I mean, there has to be some kind of really illogical twist we're not thinking of in this instance here, because he really is not helping his cause at this rate. Yeah, he's 22. There's a difference, I guess, between that and somebody like Trevor Bauer, who's older. There might be a chance for him to come back if they do get the charges dropped, but he's really not helping his cause in this situation.
Here's the thing with Trevor Bauer. He proved his innocence.
Right.
His lawyer proved his innocence. So you look at right now, Juan DeFranco, his lawyer doesn't show up. He doesn't show up. So obviously he's not innocent. That's what it shows me. Him just completely disappearing off the face of the earth tells me that he's not innocent from these charges. And that's why the Dominican Republic, the authorities are looking for him. They're looking to find him so they can investigate or have questions for him that he cannot answer.
Yeah, the reputation, too, for a lot of these MLB players as well, that come from these Caribbean island nations. A lot of the domestic violence issues that MLB has had outside of Bauer have become guys from those countries. The Yankees have one, Domingo Germán and Aroldis Chapman and all that. And there are other ones that were in the past, too. Yasiel Puig, I believe, was Cuba. He had a domestic violence issue. So again, a lot of those countries that maybe don't have the same laws have those kinds of leniencies where they can get away with it, but that still doesn't mean that you're not presenting yourself as looking guilty in that case. Remember Yasiel Puig's case, especially too. That was when he was younger as well, kind of like Juan DeFranco, and he had all that hype when he first came up with the Dodgers, and all of a sudden disintegrated when he got charged for that kind of thing, and then he had to bump around different teams. And Juan DeFranco, who had a lot more upside when he came up, is going to potentially ruin his career because of that. And the Rays, I mean, yeah, the Rays are not doing well doing their due diligence apparently, but still at the same time you have to feel bad for them because they finally paid a huge contract to a player and they can't even keep him now.
Look what's happening to Julio Arias. I mean, Look what happened to him. Domestic violence. He didn't get re-signed by the Dodgers. The Dodgers let him go, and now he could see jail time. I don't know. It supposedly it was a lot worse than people are saying it to be. And they're investigating it right now. And no major league team is going to bring him back or rehire him or bring him back into the MLB if these stories are true. And it seems like they are because the Dodgers decided to part ways with him. I don't even know how Chapman still has a job for what he did. Okay, but there was nothing. And how about Domingo Germán? Domingo Germán was caught not once, but twice domestically by his wife. And then finally, the Yankees and baseball suspended him for a significant amount of time. And he still has a job. Now, again, going back to this whole Wander Franco thing, we don't know what the story is, how true this story is. But again, if you don't show up at a court meeting or a scheduled meeting with the authorities, it tells me that he's guilty. That's what it shows.
And again, I also look at child sexual endeavors charges being different even than adults too, because they're a little more vulnerable at that kind of young age. We've seen it with prospects in the MLB draft recently and also the NHL draft that were top 10 prospects that fell out of the top 10 because of that. I think one of them just got re-signed by the Bruins or something like that, or some other team in the NHL. But those guys did not get anywhere and they fell off of their draft stock because of that. And Wander Franco, same kind of thing too. When he came up, like you're saying, he was 20. So that is a difference maker when it comes to these child abuse charges.
Here's the problem too. And again, going back to the Rays, they had an understanding of what was going on with this story because this has been going on for the last couple of years. And there was things that were leaked out by the organization that he did have a relationship with underage women. They knew about this, but they still gave him an extension. The biggest contract in Tampa Bay Rays history. They gave him $180-something million, knowing that this story was starting to leak. So I blame Tampa Bay too on this, because if they knew that there was some kind of a story coming out and it was leaking to them, why did they give him this extension? They still a lot of time. He still was underage. He's still under his rookie contract. He still had arbitration. He wasn't going to be arbitrated until the age of 25, 26. So maybe even a little bit later than that. So knowing that, why would they give him $180 million? Why would they give him the biggest contract in Rays history if they knew that this thing was leaking?
Yeah, it depends on the timetable of it too, that we'll find out eventually later when this comes out. The two reports that are official were allegedly the last 2 years, but who knows when the third one was, and who knows how much more there could be as well. And if the Rays knew that kind of thing before they signed him to that contract in 2021, the year he came up in the second half of the season, then they definitely should have been investigating that more and doing their due diligence further. Now, if it happened after they signed the contract, that's a whole different thing. Then I kind of feel bad for the Rays because they finally lock up a good young player and they can't even keep him now because he's going to be on administrative leave. But if they signed him knowing that there were possibly other charges that weren't revealed yet, yeah, they have to be investigated for that kind of thing. And any employees involved in that operation should be fired as well.
No question. Oh, man. The Washington Post reports that the Broncos tried to bench Russell Wilson after their upset win versus the Chiefs in Week 8. The Broncos wanted Russell Wilson to rework the injury guarantee, which is worth $37 million guaranteed, which Wilson refused. The NFL Players Association said Wilson came to them with complaints over the Broncos' handling of the situation, but was denied, saying that the Broncos are allowed to keep him healthy so they can cut him and not pay the guaranteed money. The Broncos are very likely to cut Wilson and pay the rest of his guaranteed salary. And Wilson would likely sign a veteran's minimum salary of $1.21 million to play elsewhere on a one-year deal. Wilson tweeted, "God's got me. Looking forward to what's next," hinting at him preparing to be cut. Wilson has liked several tweets showing his quality of play, including one comparison of his stats to Patrick Mahomes, some which are similar. First of all, Russell Wilson is not having a Patrick Mahomes season, okay? Now, first of all, Patrick Mahomes is not having a great season, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And for him to think that everybody is trying to compare his numbers to Patrick Mahomes is ridiculous, okay? Now, Russell Wilson's having a very good season. There's no question that he is. We spoke about his numbers yesterday. I think he has like 26 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. He has over 3,070 yards this year. He's having a sensational year for what he was having last year, where half the defensive team on the Broncos wanted to kill him, okay? But obviously the Broncos, obviously this organization doesn't want him there anymore, and they don't want to pay him. So they're willing to pay him out his money to get rid of him in the offseason. Here's the problem with the Broncos, and this is a lot to do with Sean Payton. Sean Payton never wanted to coach Russell Wilson. Never wanted to coach Russell Wilson. As we all know, when they were bringing up Russell Wilson's skills to Drew Brees' skills at the final couple of years of Drew Brees' career, because Russell Wilson was one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the league. And they said that he has the ability because, hey, we all know Drew Brees wasn't a big quarterback. He was 6 foot. Russell Wilson's, I think, 5'10", 5'11", and they were comparing his skills. Now, obviously, Russell Wilson can move inside and out of the pocket. He can use his legs, something that Drew Brees wasn't really his strength. His strength was his accuracy and his arm strength, and he could stand in the pocket and make every single throw. And everybody brought up at that time when Seattle was thinking about not re-signing Russell Wilson that if Sean Payton stays over there with the Saints and Drew Brees retires, would he be interested in coaching Russell Wilson? And he said, point blank, that he doesn't feel that his game fits the way he likes to play. Now, there's a lot of questions to Sean Payton and what the Broncos decided to do in the offseason of bringing Sean Payton in. If you knew that Russell Wilson was there for the long haul, and you knew that Sean Payton wouldn't and doesn't want to coach him, why would you bring Sean Payton in? That's a good question. That's something that ownership needs to look at. It's actually embarrassing. So you sit here today and you wonder, what is this organization doing? Does this organization know what they're doing as far as ownership is concerned? And Russell Wilson, if I was him, I'm laughing to the bank. You know why? Because I'm going to get paid all that money that is owed to me. Because that team, yes, the Broncos don't want him there. And he's going to go wherever he wants to go next year. Yes, he's going to make the veterans minimum. Who cares? Nobody cares about the veterans minimum because he's still going to get paid all that money that the Broncos owe to him. So if he's making $2 million, $1 million, or nothing next year, he's still going to be making his, the $150, $160 million or whatever it is owed to him.
Yeah, there's too much power struggles in the organizations like this. And Sean Payton has gotten his way with the Saints because the Saints were a previously dysfunctional organization that they needed to take a chance with that kind of thing to work. Now, Sean Payton didn't hold all the GM powers that some of these other coaches have had, like Bill Belichick, but Sean Payton still had a lot of power within that organization. Now you bring it over to the Broncos. The Broncos were pretty stable for, not for their franchise history, but for much of their franchise history for a while, up until after they won the Super Bowl. Then they started to become a little more dysfunctional. Obviously, the Nathaniel Hackett thing did not help. Experimented with him as a head coach and other bad head coaches.
What really
too.
broke after they won the Super Bowl, what broke is not Peyton Manning retired, it was really letting go of Von Miller. Von Miller was the face of the organization. They decided to part ways with Von Miller. And even when they decided to part ways with Von Miller, before he tore his ACL, he was still at the top of his game. That's why Buffalo decided to give him that $100 and some odd $1 million contract. And he was still one of the best players in the league. Who was he traded to?
The Rams.
The Rams. And he went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl with the Rams. Mm-hmm. And he was still at the top of his game because it was huge, very huge for the Rams because they added him with Aaron Donald and Odell Beckham went there and they won the Super Bowl. And then obviously the Buffalo Bills signed him to a $130 million contract and there she blows. And then he tears his ACL last year and he's not the same player. But nevertheless, at the time that Von Miller was on the Broncos, he was still at the top of his game. And the Broncos decided to part ways with him. The Broncos have made a lot of mistakes, And bringing Sean Payton in for a first-round draft pick and giving up their only first-round draft pick after giving away their future to Russell Wilson. By the way, is Seattle crying about right now Russell Wilson? No, because they got 2 offensive linemen, which they never helped Russell Wilson when he was over there in Seattle. And then he goes to the Broncos with another bad offensive line. So Russell Wilson walked into the same problem he had in Seattle. No offensive line help and really no weapons around him.
Yeah, and they've also botched a lot of good quality draft picks that they've had too. Because a team like the Broncos that has been still stably competitive at certain points, even though they've been bad, they've still been pesky to teams. They've still had good defensive teams. They brought in Vic Fangio as a coach. He had a lot of good defensive teams that never had the offense, and they've ruined guys like Bradley Chubb, that was considered a top prospect at the time. Guys like Jerry Jeudy, that was a very talented wide receiver out of the draft.
Oh, he stinks.
And yeah, they have not been as good because they've had bad coaching and bad quarterback play.
Sean Payton's there. He's developed a lot of bad wide receivers or subpar wide receivers. Colston, remember Colston?
Yep.
He played for Hofstra. He goes, I think he was a 5th round draft pick.
Back when Hofstra had a football team.
He was a 5th round draft pick. Look how good he became. Sean Payton developed him. Now, you're going to tell me in 1 year, Sean Payton couldn't develop one of the top 1st round wide receivers a couple of years ago? Jeudy has been a failure. It had nothing to do with coaching. Jeudy is not as good as everybody thinks he is. I don't care what the PFF says or the PPR says about how available he is to catch the ball in the open field. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think he was in a top 5 when it comes to being open at certain aspects of the game. To me, it doesn't matter if he can't catch the ball or he can't get to the ball in time. That's a problem. And Jeudy is not the same wide receiver that he was with Alabama.
And it also is going to be losing the reputation of the Broncos when it comes to keeping their players, too. There's a reason we were talking about it when we had Lance Sanderson on about Patrick Surtain possibly getting traded at the trade deadline already for having a great year last year, a pretty good year this year. Not as good as last year, but still was good. And Justin Simmons, one of the best safeties in football. You mentioned Von Miller. They ended up getting good value for Von Miller, but still has not been able to replicate it throughout the entirety of the team that they lost. And think about all the good receivers they had on those Super Bowl teams and the offensive line. Those were all gone pretty quickly as a result. And it just shows the dysfunction that the Broncos were trying to bring in. John Lynch trying to have too much power at certain points. Then now the ownership having too much power since they've come in. And now maybe a little bit Sean Payton, because Sean Payton's brought his own ego there and really not getting along with a lot of these players as we expected. And definitely not getting along with Russell Wilson because he didn't want to coach him. And it really takes measures to extreme levels when he didn't even want to play in week 9 after they just beat the Chiefs, the most iconic win they've had in a long time.
It just shows you Sean Payton doesn't like Russell Wilson. It just shows you that the organization never liked Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson had this problem in Seattle. I don't know how good of a person Russell Wilson is, but we've heard Richard Sherman say it. We've heard Marshawn Lynch say it over the last couple of months, especially on all the different podcasts both of those guys are on, and many other different players. Cam Chancellor said something about Russell Wilson, that he's all about himself. He's a narcissist. So it shows you a lot. And Pete Carroll, who has been very well respected around the league as a head coach, he is the oldest coach right now in the NFL, and he could be retiring this year. There were stories coming out that Pete Carroll let Russell Wilson do whatever he wanted in the locker room. Russell Wilson wanted his own locker in his own place. There was a lot of stories coming out that he was pampered by the Seattle Seahawks. This is the same guy that was drafted in the 3rd round, if you remember, from Wisconsin, and they signed Matt Flynn from the Green Bay Packers to be their starting quarterback, and he beat out Matt Flynn in the preseason. So again, I sit here today, I'm wondering what the Broncos organization is thinking. If they thought Russell Wilson was not the guy to run this offense, and by the way, Sean Payton sticking up for Russell Wilson before the season and throwing Nathaniel Hackett under the bus only makes Sean Payton look stupid. It makes him look really, really bad. And it shows the organization to be incompetent as an organization. You're paying this guy millions and millions of dollars and you don't want him there? And as a matter of fact, you're hearing the story that they wanted to take him out after week 8, after knocking out the Chiefs. That tells you one thing about this organization. 1, ownership doesn't know what they're doing. 2, the GM should be fired. And 3, Sean Payton should have never been hired.
And that's the big difference when both of those previous organizations have still had, I'm not saying to say they're amazing teams, but they've still had good stability within that. Seattle has been a very well-run team. Outside of the Jamal Adams trade, they've done pretty much everything else right, and they've still been a competitive team. They missed the playoffs 1 year, I think, out of the last 8. And the Saints, they've started to have issues with the quarterback, but besides that, they've done everything else pretty well. Alvin Kamara's got a good contract. They drafted good with wide receivers. They drafted great with defense, and they just have to find their quarterback. But Mickey Loomis has been a good GM, and the Saints have been a well-run organization. Both those things are being haunted by the fact that the Broncos have just been getting their noses into things too much. John Lynch, the new GM that's come in for John Lynch because they had to step down because he has so many bad draft picks, and now Sean Payton, and now this ownership that's trying to create their own mark because they have all this money. They're the Walmart CEOs and all that. They're not getting their blemish on because they're not letting the football people do football things, and they're not building a team the way it should be.
Where is John Lynch right now? Where is he?
He's like some role they just made up for him in the front office.
Okay, where is John Lynch? What's he doing? What is John Lynch doing? That's a problem. John Elway's been a part of this organization for years. John Elway is still working with the Broncos organization. He's not a VP or the president or whatever he was when he brought Peyton Manning in and he won a Super Bowl, but he's still a part of the organization. Why isn't Mike Shanahan helping out? Mike Shanahan, and look at his son. If Mike Shanahan was working with the Broncos organization to this day, maybe Kyle Shanahan's the head coach of the Broncos.
He's just listed as a consultant right now. So shows how much they trust.
And I'm not a big Kyle Shanahan fan, but I'll tell you this right now. Kyle Shanahan knows what he's doing, obviously, offensively, to Sean Payton. And I'm sorry, as good as Sean Payton is, as great of a coach as he is, and an offensive guru that everybody proposes him to be, this year offensively, this team is not as good as everybody thought they were going to be. They've become more of a run first, throw second team, which Sean Payton over the years, even with Alvin Kamara, he used Alvin Kamara in the flats. He was throwing the ball to Alvin Kamara. He had all these weapons all over the field. Great tight ends, big tight ends, guys that can catch the ball. He didn't do a lot of that this year because, one, Sutton is not as good as everybody thinks he is. Judy is definitely not as good as he is. And you could see they don't really have the weapons to use Sean Payton's offense and move Sean Payton's offense like they were with the Saints. The Saints were one of the best offensive teams in the NFL when he was running that team, when he was the coach of that team. And Mickey Loomis, at one point, he was one of the better GMs in the league. Now you bring Sean Payton over there, and Sean Payton is, he has a big voice right now. He is telling ownership he doesn't want Russell Wilson there. Players have come out and said they don't want Russell Wilson there. So it tells me one thing. Russell Wilson is not liked by any player in the NFL, or he's not liked by any of his peers because they know what type of player he is. And two, all the coaches that have coached him here in the NFL have problems with him. Pete Carroll, he's never going to throw Russell Wilson under the bus because it's not his personality. You know damn well when Sean Payton and the Broncos part ways with Russell Wilson, stories are going to come out on what he was doing off the field, in the locker room, and what players were saying about him. It has not worked. It's a shame because I still think Russell Wilson is a good quarterback. 3 years ago, he was an MVP candidate, and now all of a sudden, he's not the same player. Maybe he just doesn't fit this offense. Maybe he just doesn't fit in Denver. And again, look what Geno Smith is doing right now in Seattle. So it obviously wasn't all Russell Wilson and his talent, because Geno Smith, who's been a journeyman, who played for the Jets, played for the Giants, and now he's with Seattle, he has been as successful, maybe not when it comes to the numbers that Russell Wilson had over there, but he's been as successful as Russell Wilson was when he was the starting quarterback in Seattle.
Yeah, and Sean Payton, too, has taken a lot of the concepts that he brought from New Orleans and brought them to Denver, hoping that those kind of things would work. They did running back platoons for a while and did it very well on those Super Bowl teams. And even after that, with Kamara and Mark Ingram rushing for collectively 2,000 yards in 2017. And they had made these random receivers work, like you were saying, hoping that one would break out and they could decoy the rest of the field. That was what they had with Marcus Colston when he broke out. Then they were able to throw in all these random guys and make it work on their Super Bowl team. Same kind of thing when they had Michael Thomas. They had Michael Thomas. They had these other old guys that fit into the system that worked because Michael Thomas was taking a lot of attention from the defense. The Broncos don't have that kind of guy right now. Jerry Jeudy is a good route runner, but is still not as good as a receiver as he was supposed to be. Same kind of thing with Javonte Williams, a good prospect as a running back, but also is coming off a major injury. Has been good at points, but has been inefficient for the most part. Samaje Perine, they brought in to try to be that other power back that Sean Payton has always broke out with the Saints, has not been good in Denver. Same kind of thing with the tight ends. They always found that kind of thing. And Sean Payton has to realize that kind of thing, and maybe he has to coach Russell Wilson differently because of it.
And Sean Payton's pretty much throwing away the season. So is the Broncos, because if they're parting ways with Russell Wilson and they just want to get rid of him and they're going to sit him for Stidham, it only tells me one thing. They're still in playoff contention. They still can make the playoffs. If some of these teams lose, and by the way, Pittsburgh loses a game, if the Colts lose one game, they have a very good chance of making the playoffs. And you're giving up on the season for sitting Russell Wilson for the last 2 games of the season for Jarrett Stidham, who, by the way, is not a good quarterback, okay? And it just tells me one thing, how incompetent the Broncos are. And I know the Broncos are going to try every bit to try to move up in the draft to get the quarterback that they want, because if they know they want to part ways with Russell Wilson, where are they going to go? Are they going to go in free agency? How many good quarterbacks are going to be available this offseason? Not many of them. So you're probably going into this year's draft knowing that you could be drafting at 14, 15, or even 16, and you're going to have to move up and jump from 16, 15, and trade away so many pieces for the future because Sean Payton doesn't want to coach Russell Wilson.
Or you're going to have to hope that you could just nail a gem in that spot of the draft, too, because because the Broncos drafting at 16, Russell Wilson
McCarty
is built being there. It got to be cut. They're going to have to trust that they're going to have to either find that rookie quarterback or, like you said, gamble on a unknown. McCarthy, who has some flaws in his game. Bo Nix, who's an older guy that could be good. Like
they're saying Bo Nix is a 3rd-round draft pick.
Yeah, I've heard that too, because I think his game is very goofy for the NFL. I think it's very weird. So you're chancing that kind of thing, or maybe the Broncos don't draft a quarterback at all. We don't know, but then you're trusting the fact that you have to hit on a gem in the 3rd round or a free agent gem. The Broncos also don't draft quarterbacks well anyway. Look at their franchise success have come from John Elway, who they came from the Colts. They refused to play for the Colts. Wasn't their draft pick originally. Peyton Manning obviously was a free agent signing. Even somebody like Jake Plummer came from Arizona. That's where his prime was. The Broncos are not good at finding quarterbacks. So are they going to trust that kind of philosophy just on that is another question. And how far are you really going to fall if they lose their last 2 games? You're going to go from 14 to 11? Like, it's not going to be much.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. Bleacher Reports, Jordan Schultz reports that the Cowboys are likely to make Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and NFL history. Prescott is expected to get between $55 and $60 million per year, surpassing Joe Burrow's contract. Dak has 3 years and $126 million left on his current contract he signed in 2020, which would be $61.9 million in dead cap if he opts out next season. However, being the last 2 years of the deal are void for the cap purposes and doesn't give Dak any guaranteed money, the Cowboys are likely to pay the contract starting after 2024 season. Dak has 3,892 yards, 30 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions, a 68.4% completion percentage, and a 104.2 passer rating this season. Dak will be 31 years old, entering his 9th year in the league at the start of next season. Here's the thing. Dak Prescott came out before the season and said he will not throw over 8 interceptions this season. 8 interceptions. He has 7 interceptions. He has right now, if you look at the quarterbacks right now in the league, he has more touchdowns to least interceptions in all of football right now. All of football. He leads the league in that. And Dak Prescott is going to break 4,000 yards once again this year. For anybody that thinks that Dak Prescott isn't a good quarterback, shame on you. Shame on you. Okay? Yes, he doesn't win the big game. So did Tony Romo never won the big game. How many quarterbacks in the league win the big game? Honestly. Justin Herbert's one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. He goes up, what was the score? 27-0 going to the second half against Trevor Lawrence, and they lose the game. Nobody's throwing Justin Herbert under the bus. No, he gets a $200 million contract in the offseason. Dak Prescott deserves all the accolades. Because when everybody was throwing him under the bus and saying he's not worth anything, he's not good, look what he's gone through in the NFL. Before he even stepped on an NFL football field, before he was even drafted, his mother passed away. Then he gets drafted. He was a 4th-round draft pick. Nobody thought he was going to take the job away from Tony Romo. Tony Romo had a back injury. He comes in, plays great football, wins Rookie of the Year, I think. Mm-hmm. This was a 4th-round draft pick. Wins Rookie of the Year. And then we had the beef come out and say that he was going to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. Now, all of a sudden, the beef wants to throw him to the Wolves, that he stinks. I don't want him. I hope he breaks his leg. What are you, nuts? If the Jets had Dak Prescott right now, they're a playoff team. If any team that's not in the playoffs right now had Dak Prescott, they would be probably a playoff contending team. I'm not saying Dak is elite yet, but he's right there. If you don't think Dak is a top 8 quarterback in the league right now, shame on you. And right now, he's a top 5 quarterback this year. He is an MVP candidate. You can't take that away from him. Ask Aaron Rodgers. He would tell you what he's seen this year, sitting out for a whole season after 4 plays for the New York Jets. You cannot say that Dak isn't worth the money, because if you think Patrick Mahomes is and you think Joe Burrow is, Joe Burrow has been injured. How many years has Joe Burrow been in the league? 5? He's been in the league for 5 years. 2 out of the 5 years, he's been injured. 2 out of the 5. And he just got a $200-some-odd million contract. He's making $50-something million. You're going to tell me that Dak doesn't have just as good at numbers as Joe Burrow? The only thing that Joe Burrow has done that Dak hasn't is playing a Super Bowl. That's it. That's it. And his record in the playoffs is sensational. Joe Burrow has won, I think, 4 away games in the playoffs. He's been sensational. And Dak hasn't. But that's not all on Dak Prescott. That has something to do with coaching. That has something to do with the players around him. That has something to do with the talent around him. That's not Dak Prescott's fault. When you see what the Cowboys are going to give this kid, it's well-deserved. You can hate him. You can love him. You can disrespect him because he's a Cowboy quarterback. And he has a lot of pressure on him when you play for America's team. When you play in the NFC East, where you have the Giants and the Eagles and the Washington Commanders, 3 teams that for years, for over 30 years, have been elite. And I'm not going to say they've been elite for the last couple of years. The only team that's been elite is Philadelphia. But again, at one point in the 80s, the Commanders were one of the best teams in the NFL. They won 2 Super Bowls with Joe Gibbs. The Giants, they won 4 in the last 30-some-odd years with Eli Manning and Jeff Hostetler and Phil Simms. The Eagles have finally become elite. Finally, after 50 years, they win a Super Bowl. They knock off the big bad New England Patriots with Nick Foles, a guy that was fishing when he got a call when Carson Wentz tore his ACL. And now, they've played good football. They have Jalen Hurts. And this year, they haven't been as good as they were last year, but we're not even getting into that. If Jalen Hurts is going to get the contract that he got after 1 year, Dak Prescott's been in the league for 9 years. You're going to tell me statistics wouldn't show that Dak Prescott is a top 8 quarterback in the last 7 years? He is. And for any Cowboy fan that wants to say, I don't want him here anymore, I don't like him, I'd rather have Sam Darnold, I'd rather have Cooper what's his name?
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush, or whoever they want.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, are you kidding me? He just lost his job to a guy that was drafted in the same draft as him, the final pick in the draft in the 7th round, when he was a top 3 pick. How long was he there? He couldn't stay healthy. But everybody wants to throw not the same quarterback Dak Prescott should be. He's not Troy Aikman, but who is? And Troy Aikman, look who he played with. Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, that offensive line, all 5 guys are in the Hall of Fame. Arguably the greatest offensive line in NFL history. The defense was elite. You had Jimmy Johnson. Come on, guys. Who does Dak Prescott have? Mike McCarthy, who, by the way, coached Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, who should be in jail. And Aaron Rodgers, arguably the greatest quarterback of this era. You can argue that he was. You sit here and you want to throw this poor kid under the bus because, hey, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Or, hey, he's only won, one or two games in the playoffs. Again, football is the ultimate team sport. Ultimate team sport. It wasn't Tom Brady that won 7 championships by himself. He had to do it with a team. He needed the running game. He needed wide receivers. He needed an offensive line. He needed a defense.
And again, you also look at the sample of playoff losses for Dak Prescott to be able to judge. You want to throw him under the bus for the 2 49ers ones? Okay. Look at the one against the Rams. That was not his fault that they lost. Beeve, that's your precious guy, Ezekiel Elliott, that was averaging 2 yards a carry in that game and had, I think, 25 yards with that great offensive line against the Rams, and he was the reason they lost that game, along with your defense that couldn't stop old man C.J. Anderson. Not Todd Gurley even in that game. Let's go to the Packers game, his rookie year. The Cowboys were down 21-3, and Dak Prescott and that passing attack, without much of Dez Bryant, who's supposed to be that elite wide receiver, they came back to tie that game before Aaron Rodgers had that crazy drive to win with a field goal on that great catch by Jared Cook. That's not Dak Prescott's fault in that game. He did very well in that Seattle game, the one that the Beeve won the bet against me, and I had to wear that freaking dumbass Cowboys jersey on the air. And they won that game. They lost the next week to the Rams. Fine. Then you look at the 49ers ones. Okay, so that's a sample of 3 playoff games he played well, 2 that he didn't.
Arguably the greatest defense in the last 10 years that he lost against San Francisco.
Right.
Those 2 San Francisco teams that he played against in those playoff games were arguably the best defenses in the league that year. I mean, so not many quarterbacks are going to play well against them. But, because Dak Prescott did not play well, but because, I don't know, lonely Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy couldn't figure out how to bring a guy at the trade deadline to help out CeeDee Lamb, and then you decided to trade Amari Cooper a couple of years ago and part ways with him when you didn't have another secondary wide receiver, and it wasn't Gallup because he's been an absolute bust since he's come back from his knee tear, okay? And then you bring in a guy like Cooks, and I'm not saying Cooks isn't a good wide receiver. He's a washed-up wide receiver. He's in his 30s now. I think he's 30, 31 years old. He's at the tail end of his career. You're going to expect him to put up numbers that's going to give you that secondary wide receiver numbers like 1,000 yards and about 5-6 touchdowns. Brandon Cooks hasn't had a good year. I don't even know what his numbers are, but they're not good.
Yeah, and again, you also look at the skill players in previous years, too. Look at Dak's rookie year. They lost DeMarco Murray. He goes to the Titans, has a great year. Dez Bryant gets old, and then he starts running his mouth and becomes a diva wide receiver again. Jason Witten's an old man. Like, think about all he had to do. He was working with Zeke, had a great year, fine, in that offensive line. But Cole Beasley, he really crafted to make work. I think Tony Romo played with him for 1 year and was good. But it was Cole Beasley and a bunch of random guys. And then Ezekiel Elliott, when he had his downfall, too, he had to craft Tony Pollard into a good pass-catching running back that he is now. And CeeDee Lamb is a great prospect, fine. But look at all the other guys he's made good this year. Brandon Cooks, I know he started off slow, but he's still been good.
In the second half, yes. He's had 3 touchdowns in, I think, 5 games. Right. And he has 558 yards, and that is not a good secondary wide receiver. He's not a good number 2. And I'm not saying Brandon Cooks isn't good. He's a good 3. You could put him in the slot. He would be a great.
They need a deep threat.
Yeah, they needed another guy to help out CeeDee Lamb. They didn't add one, and they thought Michael Gallup was the one, and they extended Michael Gallup. They failed with that. And you're going to tell me Dak hasn't made this team much better than that they've shown this year? And I don't want to hear about Micah Parsons, because if you look at Micah Parsons' numbers in the last 4 games, they've been not good. And when everybody says he's a top 3 defensive lineman, and I don't want to hear that he's triple teamed, the Beef tells me he's getting triple teamed. So is Myles Garrett. So is TJ Watt. So is the top defensive players and defensive linemen in the league. And they're still getting to the quarterback. So there's no excuse for Micah Parsons, who likes to open his mouth on his podcast. And by the way, Micah Parsons has not thrown anybody on his team under the bus. But when he speaks about certain quarterbacks, he spoke about how, you have to give Zach Wilson a chance. So you want to give Zach Wilson a chance. You want to sit here and sell the Jet fans that Zach Wilson needs more time. But you look at Dak Prescott, for all the people that have thrown Dak Prescott under the bus, you haven't stuck up for your own quarterback. Your quarterback that's putting up numbers that he's putting up right now, and he's an MVP candidate. You can't stand out and stick your head out for that type of player. I shame on Micah Parsons, because he's got a lot to say on his podcast. I have not heard once him come out this year. I've listened to at least 3 of his shows. He has not come out once to stick up for his quarterback, which everybody's throwing under the bus with the great season that he's having.
Yeah, any quarterback that has 5 top 10 quarterback seasons in his career, and this season a top 3 quarterback season in his career, is going to garner that kind of money, whether you Cowboys fans like it or not. He is going to get that money. And then if you do let him go, or if he opts out and goes to another team, what is your backup plan, Dallas Cowboys fans? Are you going to trust Trey Lance is going to rebirth with a potentially new coaching staff, a scheme that he doesn't know? I know the 49ers scheme was complicated. It was tough for him to learn, but it's not like Mike McCarthy's scheme is easy to learn either. If they do keep him, that's assuming they keep him. They might get rid of him too, and then all of a sudden you're working with a new coach. That's your backup plan if you don't want to keep Dak Prescott, and you want to pay all these other guys. The Cowboys have done well at keeping those guys, paying those guys. DeMarcus Lawrence got a big contract, Van Der Esch, etc. You don't want to keep Dak Prescott, who's been better than those guys at a consistency rate for those years. And by the way, less injury prone than those guys too. Yeah, he's been hurt. I understand he had a bad ankle injury, but Leighton Van Der Esch is always hurt. DeMarcus Lawrence is always hurt.
They can't stay healthy. Nobody can stay healthy on that team. Dak plays on one leg, and everybody wants to throw him under the bus when he throws two interceptions in a game. It's ridiculous. He'll stay out there. He'll beat up his body. He'll throw his body. That offensive line has been putrid in the second half of the season. Putrid. They can't protect him because of injuries. And you're going to say, oh, it's Dak Prescott's fault because he's getting sacked 12 times in a game against San Francisco? What are you, nuts? It's ridiculous. And it's Dak's fault. Well, he's a good quarterback. He should make every single throw. To who? CeeDee Lamb, who's getting triple teamed in the open field, in the flats. Everywhere they put him, they put CeeDee Lamb in the slot. They move him on the outside. They try to move him around on the field because he's the only weapon they have. Pollard has been an absolute bust. He's been horrific. This team has been crappy, and they still have 10 wins. Seriously, I think they have 11 wins, right? I think 10 wins. Okay, so they're 10-5, right? Mm-hmm. I think they're 10-5. So the Cowboys right now have a lot to obviously to stand for, and the one thing they should stand for is their quarterback, who, by the way, right now he's 31 years old. He's going to be 31 next year. Dak could play if Dak plays another 5 to 6 good years. He's a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. He's a Hall of Famer. Right now, Dak's career, his completion percentage is 68.8. Okay, Tom Brady's career, his completion percentage was a little bit over 66. He has a better completion percentage than Tom Brady, 28,835 yards. Okay, for a quarterback right now, okay, that's playing for the Dallas Cowboy that has one weapon in the open field, 196 touchdowns to 72 interceptions, and a 98.7 quarterback rating, which is closer to 100%, almost 100%, which is amongst the league's top. If you look, I don't know what the numbers are. If I bring up Tom Brady's numbers in his career, and I'm not saying he's Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is compared to be the GOAT, right? That's what they say. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest quarterback to ever play. I'm going to bring up his numbers right now in his career. Tom Brady has 649 touchdowns and 212 interceptions, but he also played 25 years, okay? His career completion percentage was 64.3. Dak has a better completion percentage. His career quarterback rating, I'm looking for that right now. I'm going to say his career quarterback rating, it doesn't give you here, the quarterback rating fully. I think it's, it's 97.2. Dak, 98. Okay. So right now, I'm just giving you two numbers because you can't compare his yards because Tom Brady's played almost 15, 16 years more than Dak Prescott. He has 649 touchdowns and 212. If Dak breaks 350 touchdowns or 380 touchdowns to only 140 interceptions in his career, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. Now, Tony Romo, for all those Dallas Cowboy fans that have this love fest for Tony Romo, Dak Prescott already is a better quarterback than Tony Romo. He's already a better quarterback than Tony Romo. And Tony Romo, he played 13 years, 12 years in the NFL. Dak's numbers are better than Tony Romo, 4 years less than Tony Romo.
Look at the two numbers you brought up, too. Those are both efficiency numbers that mean that Dak Prescott, for a stability amount of time, 8 years in the league, has been efficient pretty much every season. And even last year, too, in the year that he had all those interceptions, he was still very good in a lot of advanced metrics, top 7 quarterback in a lot of those advanced statistics. And that gets thrown on the bus because he led the league in interceptions. And still in other volume statistics and efficiency statistics, he was still good. And that's the kind of thing that Dak Prescott has the advantage of on his side in an era of the NFL where that kind of thing is emphasized even more than the volume and even more than the total yardage that it's being thrown. In a passing league, the one thing you can't do as a quarterback is make the wrong decisions and not do anything at all. Interceptions are bad, yes, but so are random incompletions, and so are incompletions with high percentage throws. Dak Prescott has never had that issue in his career.
And by the way, I didn't see what Snug wrote about the Rays and the morality clause for paying, obviously, Wanda. I'm going to tell you this right now. If Wanda pays these families off, they still have to pay Wanda. They still have to pay Wanda because Wanda's going to get off it, and they're still going to have to pay him that $172 million. And that's what's going to happen. Right now, Wanda is running because he's scared. He obviously can't hide from the police. He's not going to hide from the authorities. Eventually, he's going to be found, and they're going to have questions to answer him. So you say that the Rays are going to, pull that morality clause situation. That's not going to happen because one way or another, Wanda they'll figure out a way to get Wanda out of this because he's a multimillionaire. Mm-hmm. And how many multimillionaire players have been arrested and thrown into jail for a significant amount of time? And yes, it's two different countries and they have two different laws, whatever. I think for one way or another, Wanda is going to get out of that situation. I just think that he's making it worse for himself for ducking and weaving the authorities. Yep. Now to get back to this and finish up with this whole Dak Prescott thing, if you were to look at this season, if the Dallas Cowboys were 11-4 right now, Dak right now would be probably the favorite to win the MVP. But because Dak hasn't played well in the last 2 weeks, because the team hasn't played well, he's lost his chance to win the MVP. He will definitely be in the top three. He's definitely a top three quarterback right now. It's probably right now Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, and Dak Prescott. And Josh Allen looming. Mm-hmm. Now, if Josh Allen wins out the next two games, he's got to play Miami. If he knocks off Miami and he wins the last two games, Josh will probably knock out Dak Prescott. That's what it seems like. And that's the quarterbacks. We still have Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill. They're all, but like our friend Mr. Schott said last night, it's going to go to a quarterback because usually the quarterback wins an MVP. Dak Prescott deserves all the accolades this year. He does. Watch him play this year compared to what he did last year. And that's because Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator. Look at Justin Herbert's numbers this year with Kellen Moore. Look at his numbers the year before and look at his numbers this year. I would bet you, John, and I don't even know, Justin Herbert's numbers the year before were better than they were this year.
And look at everybody else that's fallen off with Kellen Moore over there, too. Austin Eckler's not had the same season. Nope. Keenan Allen's been great, but none of their other receivers have.
Nope.
And neither is the tight end play and offensive line play.
Nope. So that tells you what Kellen Moore is as an offensive coordinator in the league. Dak right now is having a career year. Why? Oh, I don't know. Mike McCarthy's calling the plays. Mm-hmm. They're letting Dak play at his strengths, which they didn't do. And that's why I'm going to tell you right now, the Cowboys are dangerous. The Cowboys are still dangerous in the playoffs because Mike McCarthy is calling the plays. Mike McCarthy will move the plays to Dak Prescott's strengths. That's what he's going to do in the playoffs. If this defense can actually get to the quarterback and this defense could actually play at the top of their game, which they haven't the last 4 weeks. And if you look at last season in the second half, this defense was nowhere close to what they were in the first half. They died down in the second half last year. And the same thing is happening this year.
And again, the growth of the quarterback, too, you're seeing with a different coach now, too. We were talking about earlier with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. Like, sometimes you have to evolve to fit the quarterback style of play. And especially with these younger prospects that are much more athletic now, running quarterbacks, you have to fit to that kind of style. Same kind of thing happened with the Ravens this year when they switched offensive coordinators. Todd Monken, who was a really heavy pass-first guy at Georgia, had to evolve to Lamar Jackson's skill set, and now he's in the lead probably now to win MVP. And Mike McCarthy had to do the same thing, making that Cowboys offense not completely like the Packers and not be stubborn in the ways that he had with Aaron Rodgers. Look at the quarterback Dak Prescott has grown into the last 3 years because of that kind of thing. And it's really telling what kind of leader, mature type of guy Dak is, and he should definitely be up there and definitely deserves all the money that he is about to get next offseason, whether it's from the Cowboys, probably likely from the Cowboys, but if they're going to be too stubborn, he's going to thrive somewhere else.
Joel Embiid had some comments of the hype rookie Victor Wembanyama, saying that he has to figure out where he wants to play, and everything feels forced. He also added about Wemby should ask himself, do you want to become KD or do you want to become me? Reports also say that the 76ers are likely to make a big splash at the trade deadline, but they are completely out for Zach LaVine, saying they want more of a two-way player. Embiid says there isn't any specific player in mind that he wants to play with, saying that the front office's job is to make the team better. Several reports that the sports analyst in Philadelphia have also accused Joel Embiid of not being a leader because he has sat out key games against contending teams recently. 4 of the 5 games he's missed this season have been against the Timberwolves, the Celtics, the Magic, the Heat, all top 4 teams in their conferences. Embiid is averaging 35 points per game, 11.7 rebounds per game, and 6 assists per game this season. And the 76ers are 3rd in the Eastern Conference with a 21-9 record. Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the league. You can't even argue that. He did cry about winning the MVP last year, and that's might be the reason why he won. Okay. Do I think he should have won the MVP last year? No. I thought Jokic, again, was the best player in the league. He is the most valuable player to his team. And you could see that because who won the NBA championship last year? The Denver Nuggets. Where did Joel Embiid and the 76ers go in the playoffs? Not very far. Joel Embiid has never taken the 76ers to an Eastern Conference Finals. He's the only big man who's won an MVP that's never done that in NBA history. Yes, he's the only player at his position to not do that. Now, I still think Joel Embiid is a top 5 player in the league. I think Joel Embiid is a game changer. And I do believe that he's not a team leader. And that's what usually happens with these big time teams, these big name players. They don't want to be the face of the organization. I don't believe that Joel Embiid wants to be the face of the 76ers. He knows he has to be. He doesn't want to be. Does anybody remember Tracy McGrady? Tracy McGrady was a sensational player. He played with Vince Carter. He played with the Toronto Raptors, but he wanted to be the face of an organization. He didn't want to be in the shadow of Vince Carter. So what did he do? He forced his way out. He went to the Rockets. And we all know that Tracy McGrady is cousins to Vince Carter. He came out and said that if he never left the Toronto Raptors, they win multiple championships. But he wanted to be a part of one organization where he could be the face of the organization. Tracy McGrady wanted to do that. Shaquille O'Neal was the face of those Laker teams. Remember that? When they won those 3 titles, he won the MVP for those Laker teams every single year. Go look. 3 championships, 3 MVPs to Shaquille O'Neal. Kobe wanted to be the face of an organization, almost ran himself out of the Lakers until they decided to take the younger guy and build around the younger guy, and they traded Shaquille O'Neal to the Miami Heat, and they won a championship with Miami Heat, and then he was at the tail end because then, he was jumping from team to team before he retired. There are players that are born to be leaders. Born to be leaders. Julius Randle is not born to be a leader for the New York Knicks. He wants to be the face of the New York Knicks, but he's not. He's got to take a back seat now because Jalen Brunson is the face of the New York Knicks. And you can see his game and the way he plays. He plays like a leader. You look at Joel Embiid, you could tell that he doesn't want to be with the 76ers. You could tell that he doesn't want to be there in Philadelphia. And that's a big problem right now for the 76ers because for years they stunk. How many top 5 picks have they had over and over and over again, and nobody panned out? The only one, Joel Embiid. They had Nerlens Noel. He was a Kentucky player. He was drafted, 3 in the draft. What was he? A shot block phenomenon and rebounder. He could never score. They thought they can transition his game. I could go on and on and on of players that they drafted over the years. Nerlens Noel is just one player of many.
Too.
Let's not get into from Jahlil Okafor. For all the Knicks fans that were crying that they didn't get him, boy, oh boy, they should be happy. Even though Porzingis decided to flee with him and his brother wanting to own ownership of the New York Knicks, he goes over there, he goes over here, goes to Dallas, goes to Washington. Now he's playing for the Celtics and putting up great numbers and probably an All-Star this year.
And then there's the greatest clown of them all, Ben Simmons.
Yeah. There are not many players that want to be the face of their organization. If you were to ask right now Luka Doncic if he wants to be the face of the Dallas Mavericks, he would probably tell you no. Luka's a great player. He knows he's the best player on the team. He doesn't have that personality. He doesn't have that pizzazz to be the face of that organization. Kevin Durant loves to be the face of organization. Kyrie Irving wants to be the face of an organization, even though it hasn't worked everywhere he's gone by himself.
Disclaimer, they want to be the face of their organizations for 8 months and then force their way out.
Russell Westbrook also wanted to be the face of the OKC Thunder. He did. It didn't work. Even though he was a great player, it didn't work. Some players want to be the face of those. Kawhi Leonard, he's a sensational player. Do you think Kawhi Leonard wants to be a face of an organization? Nope. He didn't want to be that with San Antonio when Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Ginobili retired. He didn't want to be that. He went to the Raptors. He knew he was the best player. He still didn't want to be the face of the Raptors. And he's still on the Clippers. He tries to duck and weave no matter how good he is. There are players that want to be the face of their organization, and there are players that don't want to be. Joel Embiid doesn't want to be the face of the 76ers.
And again, you also look at the last straw type thing for a lot of these teams in the NBA and just in sports in general. The Sixers kind of feel in that boat. They tried to do that with James Harden, tried to make it work, and obviously it didn't, and then they have to trade him. And they got some good role players back, but they had to trade for mostly older guys. And so far, they're winning that trade, but still, it's not the ideal circumstances you want to build a team, especially in NBA, that you want to be able to win with young stars and young guys that can move the ball and stuff like that. It's harder to be able to win with all these old guys. It's not LeBron Lakers. It's not like the LeBron Miami Heat team, and even the later Golden State Warriors teams that had some older guys too, but it's harder to win that way with other teams. And Joel Embiid is now, I think he's sending a message to the front office because of that. Do your job. Don't bring on these stars that don't want to leave and that want to leave a year later. Don't bring in these high-end first-round picks. Don't bring in all these other old guys, because they've also had the problem with coaches too. They bring in all these flashy coaches. The great Doc Rivers was supposed to turn this team around.
God, please.
And they blew a 3-1 lead. They blew a 3-2 lead last year in the playoffs. And now they're bringing in Nick Nurse, a guy that's won an NBA championship.
I love Nick Nurse. I think he was a great pickup, but Joel Embiid didn't want Nick Nurse.
Right.
He came out and said he did not want Nick Nurse as the head coach of the team. And that says a lot about who he is as a player. He wants a guy that is going to be a running gun type of coach. He wants to be an offensive team. And Nick Nurse is more defensive minded. And that's something that Joel Embiid does not want to play.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's sending a message to the front office too, that if you want to make this quote unquote Nick Nurse thing work because I don't want him as my coach, or he's not the one I would have preferred to have, you were going to give me a player that I got to want. Now he said there's not a specific player in the mind. I don't believe that, because I do believe that with all the good players that are going to be available at the trade deadline, we were talking about it yesterday with the Knicks, the Sixers have those kinds of things to make it work too, because they have the sense of urgency to trade. Now they don't have the draft stock and the young talent that the Knicks have, but they still have pieces they could trade away. And they also still have a sense of urgency that Joel Embiid might not want to be there much longer with his big contract. Maybe this is the all or nothing year for that kind of thing, like it was for Kawhi Leonard getting traded to Toronto. They were on that kind of last straw after failing in the playoffs. Same kind of thing with the Sixers. They have not reached the Eastern Conference Finals. They should have last year. They were up 3-2 and they fell apart against the Celtics.
It's very embarrassing when you look at the 76ers and they have a superstar like Joel Embiid, who's not been happy since really since the last 3 years. He really hasn't been happy. They brought in James Harden. They thought that would make him happy. He didn't want to play with Ben Simmons anymore. They traded him away. And James Harden, I've heard stories that he did not like playing with James Harden. James Harden did not want to play for Nick Nurse. He did not want to play for the GM over there in Dorsey. He wanted, right? It was Dorsey, right?
I think Elton Brand. I forgot who the GM was, but Elton Brand was the president of basketball
Okay, so Elton Brand, and not Elton Brand. Who's the other guy that runs the Rockets?
Daryl Morey.
Yeah, Morey. He was another one that he didn't want to. He didn't want to play for. So you look at right now in the big picture or the big picture of the 76ers. I have a feeling that Embiid is going to force his way out. I really do. I don't know if it's going to be this season. I think it'll probably be in the offseason. But Joel Embiid in the offseason is going to tell the 76ers that he does not want to play for Nick Nurse. He doesn't want to be a part of this organization anymore. He wants to go to an organization where he can win or he can be the second guy, the not superstar player well, he is a superstar player, but the second tier player. He wants to be Robin. He doesn't want to be Batman. He will never say that, guys. He will not say that. But if you read what he said about Wemby and Wembanyama, he says, do you want to become KD or do you want to become me? It tells you a lot about who he is. KD loves to be the superstar. He wants to be the face of an organization. It's telling you that Joel Embiid didn't, and he doesn't want to be the face of an organization. It says one thing and one thing only. Now, Wembanyama, obviously, he could be saying that as far as KD, Wembanyama could be a good shooter. He could be an elite shooter around the perimeter and the three-point line. And somebody like Joel Embiid is not that type of player. But again, when you look at Joel Embiid in his game and how it's transitioned in the last couple of years, he has been a good shooter at the three-point line. He has become an elite player around the perimeter. So I don't know what he's saying. The only thing that could sell me and tell me the type of player that he is trying to say about Wemby is, do you want to be the superstar or you want to be the other guy? So that's what I think he's trying to get at where he says you want to become KD or you want to become somebody like me.
Right. Testing the loyalty too, because KD obviously was there for 6 years, or no, more than that, 8 years, I guess, with the Thunder, but still he left the Thunder to go to the Warriors and he's been bumping around in many teams ever since. And same kind of thing with Embiid. Now, there might be rumors that he's going to want out, and there were that this offseason. The Knicks were one of the teams that were involved with that. Miami, another one. And it definitely is possible if the Sixers do not win another title this year or even get to the NBA
They're not
Finals.
winning no title.
I don't think so either.
If you look at the Eastern Conference, are they beating Milwaukee? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Are they beating the Celtics? Probably not. Are they beating the Knicks in a 7-game series right now? Size-wise with Joel Embiid, they could.
Yeah.
But all those secondary players. Now, Maxi's played very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I said Maxwell in the beginning of the content, but Maxi's played very, very well this year. But now they're talking about maybe moving Maxi. There has been talks that maybe he's the best option to move to bring in another superstar to play with Joel Embiid, which tells me you're going to give away the one prospect that you developed over the last couple of years from Joel Embiid.
Yep. And
That's a big mistake.
Yeah, and again, you also look at that comment too. Like, he's sticking up for Maxey in the past too over James Harden, but now he's trying to say that the front office has to do their job. Does that mean like they're going to try to force it out? Because he's definitely the biggest tradable asset they have there by far, because he's the only young guy that has upside on that team. A lot of their other good young guys are bench players, so you're not going to trade those for a high quality star unless you're going to trade a bunch of draft picks away either. So the comments are kind of hypocritical in their own way when you're also judging the coach too. As far as the Wemby comment, yeah, I think some of it is skill set based, some of it is leadership based too, because I was mentioning it too when we were talking about all these diva NBA players too. Like a lot of those guys that we complained about over the years, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, etc., were all in that generation of those 2000s and like early 2010s draft picks. I don't think you've seen it as much with some of these younger NBA superstars today. Like you were talking about Luka Doncic. Yeah, he might not want to be the face of the Mavericks because they've had dysfunction, but
it's not that I don't think he wants to be the face of the organization. I think he's a quiet player. I think he just wants to play his game. He doesn't want to be the leader of the team. He doesn't want to be the superstar of the team. He wants to be the other guy. And Kyrie Irving, he's not he's not soft spoken. He likes to open his mouth, something that Luka doesn't like to do. So I think the fact that Luka knows that Kyrie Irving likes to speak, he takes a step back, even though he knows he's the best player on the team. As a matter of fact, what has Kyrie Irving done for the Dallas Mavericks this year? Nothing. Nothing.
And again, that's the logic you look at when you look at these other top superstars across the league. Giannis had a little bit in the offseason, but not much. Like, it was more of a team thing more than an individual thing with him. Obviously, the Joker is the best player in the NBA, and you don't hear him yap at all. And it comes to complaining about players and stuff like that. And Joel Embiid, it kind of only has started to surface the last couple of years with the MVP.
I'm so
stuff.
pissed off right now. Amari Cooper is not playing tonight.
Oh boy.
He's not playing tonight. It absolutely cost me possibly a championship.
Wow.
You believe this crap? Because of his heel. He has a all-time great game last week. He has 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards. And what was it? I think it was on Tuesday. There were stories coming out that he hasn't been practicing. And then he was coming into the stadium. Everybody said he was going to play. He's probably going to play, and he's inactive tonight.
Wow.
Oh, it probably cost me a championship. Yeah. So thank you to Amari Cooper and the Cleveland Browns. Now I hope they lose.
So change the Jeff draft stock just because he hurt my fantasy team.
I can't. I'm just so bit. Well, I would hope that my running back, and you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Ford, has a good game because he's on my team, and I want Ford to have a great game. So hopefully Ford puts up 2 touchdowns and maybe 100 yards, and that could save me. So
going back to the NBA, though, as far as Wembanyama, he's also one that is going to have this extra pressure because of all this hype that he's had. As Waj was saying, the most hype prospect we've seen in NBA history, and that's something that these other players have not had. Jokic was a 2nd-round pick. Giannis was like you were saying, kind of a mid-first-round pick that wouldn't have played in the NBA if it wasn't for that kind of thing. Luka Doncic had hype. He was a highly touted player because of his European career, but still, Wemby has a whole nother level too. And that's something that maybe Joel Embiid is saying he has to learn that level of maturity as a player. He has to find who he is as a skill set wise player and also as a player, as a maturity player as well. Now, I would say he wants to become more of an Embiid type because of the type of skill set he is. And you look at Embiid this year, 6 assists per game is very impressive for a big man. Only Nikola Jokic could say that, who had 6.7 or 6.8 last year. And Wemby has those kind of capabilities too. But as far as the maturity end, I can see where he's coming from with that.
Multiple reports believe that the Penguins will be looking to trade a lot of their big assets at the trade deadline. The Hockey News reports that Jake Gensel is the most likely candidate to be traded, being that he's 29 years old. Gensel has 16 goals, 22 assists, and 38 points in 33 games this season. There is also belief that the new general manager, Kyle Dubas, would consider trading Sidney Crosby for the right price. Crosby has 19 goals, 16 assists, and 35 points this season. Gensel is a free agent after this year, while Crosby has 1 more year left of his $3 million, which is just $3 million left. The Penguins were the oldest team in the NHL coming into the season with an average age of 30.8 years old. I could not see, and we've had so many hockey experts on this show for years tell us that there's no way in hell Sidney Crosby gets traded. Just like we've all said that about Washington and Ovechkin. He will never get traded. Ovechkin looks like he's at the tail end of his career. This might be his last year, and it just shows you one thing. It shows you that now with a new GM and the way this ownership is looking to move past the Sidney Crosby era, they're looking to possibly move arguably one of the greatest players to ever play for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And they've had a lot of great ones. Jaromir Jagr, Mario Lemieux, a ton of great players. Mark Recchi. I mean, they've had a lot of good players. Tom Barrasso. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. Ulf Samuelsson. So you look at the fact that the Pittsburgh Penguins are not playing well. They did knock off the Islanders 7-0 and knocked out their star goaltender in Sorokin, who had a horrible, dreadful game yesterday. You look at the position that the Penguins are in, they need to rebuild this farm system. This is a farm system that has not been rebuilt over the years. They have not had players drafted that you can build around like Sidney Crosby or a Malkin right now. And I'm going to say this. Genzel's a good player, and he was a young player that they brought up. He's not Sidney Crosby. He is not Malkin. He's having a good season. He is a good goal scorer. What are they going to get for him? What are they trying to get for him? They brought Carlson in because they thought he was going to be somewhat of a game changer and help them get into the playoffs this year, where I think they didn't make the playoffs by 1 point because the last 4 games of the season, they completely busted. and bombed.
Yep, against terrible teams too, including your Chicago Blackhawks, Carl. They bombed at the end of the season, and it's just not a good process for what the Penguins are going through right now. That's why I don't know if you could definitely go to this extreme measure, because the Penguins are not trading one player away from being able to do the contending thing. And that's why Gensel, I think, has good value. And that kind of thing makes sense in order to do that. He's 29 years old. He's had a great year last year too, and he's been an inconsistent player in his career when it comes to the regular season, but when it comes to his younger career and it comes to the last 3 years now, he's at peak value where I think that makes sense. If you're trying to get these young players up, because the Penguins, odds are for them, because of the money situation that they're in, they still might be a bad team, but they're not going to have like the first overall pick in the draft unless Gary Bettman wants to rig the lottery for them or something like that, which you never know with them. It's definitely possible. But still, you look at the young players that could come up. Why would they not want to have them experiment with playing with a guy like Sidney Crosby to help their development start right away? You know, the fans are going to give a backlash too if they decide to trade their franchise icon for less value than you would expect. Now, Kyle Dubas did say, all right, we're only going to do it at the right price, which I guess he understands what the fan backlash could be, but still, he's still an older player. He's obviously a great player, but still, you're not going to get that kind of value to just turn your team around overnight.
Jerome Ford touchdown, baby. That's what I'm talking. I need Jerome Ford to give me at least 2 touchdowns tonight. If he gives me 2 touchdowns, losing Amari Cooper is not going to hurt me as bad. I need 100 yards too from Jerome Ford. So hopefully he puts up those numbers tonight. I think 8 points already for Jerome Ford. I need at least 18 points from Jerome Ford tonight after losing. And now I don't know where I go at the wide receiver position. I don't. Reynolds. I mean, hopefully Reynolds has a good game with the Lions. Who are the Lions playing this week?
Lions?
Yeah, who are they playing this week? That's a good question. But to finish up with this Pittsburgh Penguin thing, I'm sorry, Dallas. Yeah, so that's interesting. But their secondary, they only have one guy. So hey, maybe I don't know. St. Brown's been unbelievable the last couple of weeks. So, and they still have Williams. So Reynolds is the third guy.
Yeah, he's the third guy. You're gonna have to hope for some like random chunk plays
or somebody gets hurt.
Yeah,
I'm not wishing anybody gets hurt.
No, you're not the Beeve. You're not going to stoop so low for somebody to break their leg, especially their franchise quarterback.
But I have to play Reynolds this week. Yeah. I have to go with Reynolds because Amari Cooper decides to not play tonight because of a heel, and they're going to win tonight. We know the Browns are going to win. I could see the Browns putting up a 30-something spot, in this game, 40. And I want to see Jerome Ford be the reason why they do that. But anyways, to get back to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I'll say this, and everybody's going to say nobody cares about hockey, but I do. And I will say this about the Pittsburgh Penguins. If they trade Sidney Crosby, they better make sure they get a lot back for him. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't, they're going to get killed by the press over there, and they're going to get killed by the league because Sidney Crosby is still at the top of his game. Sidney Crosby is going to have another year where he's going to have close to 40 goals and he's going to have close to 100 points. He's still at the top of his game. I know he's in his mid-30s. He might have another 2 years left, but we're talking about one of the greatest hockey players to ever play this game. And to trade somebody of this stature, you have to absolutely make sure that this is going to transition the next 10 years of your team.
Right. And you look at a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning too. Like they had their older veteran guys to help out their younger guys. And now a lot of those guys are taking over as the main focal points of their team. Guys like Braden Point, guys like Kucherov, playing with Stamkos, playing with Marty St. Louis. It helped their development. And I think the Penguins are in a very similar position for that kind of thing to work, especially if you know that Evgeny Malkin is not going to get that trade value. Erik Karlsson, obviously they just traded for, so he's not going to be traded again. Letang is probably not going to get that trade value. So you want those guys to help you out when it comes to building up the depth of this team, because that's always been the issue with the Penguins in the past too. The Penguins have always developed their depth from their trade deadline moves, and it made it work for the 2 Stanley Cup runs. They traded for Phil Kessel, they traded for Nick Bonino and all these other veteran guys, and now recently they've traded for Raquel, they traded for Jason Zucker. It's helped them stay afloat, but at some point, it just sets in where it's just going to be mediocrity. The Red Wings went through that because they tried to keep their playoff streak alive. They made it 25 straight years to the playoffs, and they ended up getting stuck in mediocrity. They had all those bad contracts, 2 of which ex-Islander players that they weren't able to get rid of. And the Penguins have to avoid that kind of thing now, but they almost got in too deep when they gave up all these big contracts too. And now they feel like, because we have to get these young prospects going, they have to trade away Sidney Crosby in order to do that. Meanwhile, Sidney Crosby can help those young players out to develop. Gensel, I think, makes sense to trade. I think this is the prime of his career. Makes sense to get good value, but Crosby, no.
Do you want to do our picks?
Might as well.
We might as well do our picks. We have two guests at 9 o'clock. We will be talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton. He will be joining us. Obviously, he writes for the Warriors, the 49ers, and he's a Mets fan. So I'm definitely interested to hear what he has to say when it comes to the Mets and their offseason. And at 9:30, we'll be talking to 97.3 ESPN and USA Today 76ers and NBA analyst Austin Krell. My friends.
Yes. So obviously,
Be fun.
I'm assuming we both have the Browns tonight.
Yes, we do.
All right. We'll go to the Detroit and Dallas game on Saturday night. 51.5, the over-under for this one. I'm going to go with Dallas in this one. I think this is a good bounce-back spot for them. I think it's a good letdown spot for the Lions. They just won their division. I think there'll be a little bit of a down. Dallas needs this game. I think their defense does find it again. Detroit, I don't think they've been able to run the ball as well on a consistency basis, and Dallas still has some good run defenders. So I'm going to take the Cowboys in this game. I'm going to take them on the under.
Listen, I think the Lions could win the conference if the San Francisco 49ers lose this week. And remember, they're 11-4. So are the Eagles, and so are the 49ers. If the Lions win this week and both the 49ers and the Eagles lose, and they win out their final game of the season, they're the number one seed. They have the bye. So I think the Lions are going to play for it all this week. They're the third best offense in the league. They're right now offensively, they're fifth in passing, third in running. They could do everything offensively. Gibbs has been sensational. Montgomery, since he's been back, has been sensational, and they could throw the ball. I mean, obviously, St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the league. Laporta, I think, could be up for Rookie of the Year. He's been sensational tight end. He could, right now, he's 776 yards. He's not going to break 1,000 yards, but he's had a sensational year with 9 TDs. He's been everything, and he's been really the blanket for Jared Goff. And Jared Goff, at one point this year, was an MVP candidate. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys, too. They need the game more. I don't think the Lions are going to go out there and really put up the numbers that we think they're going to put up against the Cowboys defense. I think Micah Parsons is going to wake up this week. He'll have a sack or a sack and a half and do everything he can to put the numbers up for Dak Prescott. Will help Dak Prescott out as far as the defensive numbers, but I expect Dak Prescott to have a big game. I think he throws 300 yards against his defense, which, by the way, the secondary has not played well in the last 2 weeks. Give me the Cowboys on the money line.
All right, the Atlanta Falcons and the Chicago Bears, 37.5, the over-under for this one. Definitely an interesting matchup with defenses. I think this is definitely a low-scoring game. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I just still trust their up front a little more to be able to stop the run. Chicago's had a lot of running back injuries, and I do think DJ Moore against AJ Terrell will be a tough matchup. Terrell is a bigger corner, and the Bears have not been able to spread the ball around besides that. So I'm going to take the Falcons in a close one on the under.
I think it's going to be a wet day on Sunday in Chicago, and usually when it's a wet day on that grass, it's a long day for the opposing team. I think Chicago and Justin Fields are going to play a very big game. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense. They're going to shut down the running game of Bijan Robinson. This has been one of the best running defenses in the last 5 weeks. They've been unbelievable as far as the run defense. As far as the wide receivers are concerned, I don't know about Kyle Pitts. We haven't seen much of him. I don't know if they keep their coach in the offseason. I don't know who the quarterback is. Is it Ritter? I don't know. He will play this week, but it's not going to mean anything. I think the Falcons are not as good as everybody thought they were going to be this year, as a lot of people, a lot of experts we've had on the show thought that they were going to be a playoff team. I beg to differ. I've got the Bears in this game on the money line.
All right, next one, the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Patriots won the first meeting, though they're not winning this one. The Bills have been much better. Like Aaron Schatz was talking about yesterday, their defense has really found it. The Patriots had a nice win last week against the Broncos, but I think the Bills blow them out here.
Oh, my God. Josh Allen is going to have an explosive game, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Patriots have been very good defensively all season long, even where the record doesn't show it. But Mac Jones is your starting quarterback. That's not going to mean anything to this defense. This defense in the last 5 weeks has been a top 5 defense. They've been explosive in every kind of way defensively. And by the way, their defense is ranked now 10th. 5 weeks ago, they were ranked like 20th. They've jumped 10 spots. Their passing attack is 9th in the league. Their rushing attack is 7th. Yes, their rushing attack is 7th in the league. They've been unbelievable. Josh Allen is an MVP candidate. He will break 4,000 yards this year. He does have 15 interceptions, no interceptions in this game, and Cook will run the ball against this Patriot team as he will have 1,200 yards by the end of the season. Give me Buffalo on the money line.
All right, the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud will be back this week from his concussion, and for that reason, I'm going to take the Texans in this game. The Titans have been pesky. They've been playing close with a lot of these good teams. They almost spoiled the Texans in their first meeting. Should have won that game probably, but you look at a team like the Texans now playing with a backup quarterback and winning the way they did. I think it was very impressive. So give me the Texans in this game.
The Brees Hall scored a touchdown. Oh, it's 7-7, baby. Oh, my God. The Jets are going to try to keep this game very close. But it's good because then we'll see more Jerome Ford and we'll see more scoring. So that's what we want to see. Anyways, what are we on?
Titans,
The
Texans.
Titans, Texans? All right. I got the Texans in this game. The Titans have played pretty well defensively all season long. We don't know where Mike Vrabel's going to be at the end of the season. It could be a Patriot coach. Who knows? But I love the Texans. CJ Stroud will play this week. I think he'll put up big numbers against his defense, and they're going to be able to run this week because it's going to open up the field because CJ Stroud is back. Give me the Texans on the money line.
All right, probably a blowout central here for these next three. The Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think anyone's picking Carolina in this one, I would imagine.
No. I'm going to go with Jacksonville on the money line.
Yep. The Rams.
And by the way, they haven't played well the last couple of weeks. And by the way, the Panthers have played well the last 2 weeks. Who would have thought they fired the coach? What was it, 5 weeks ago, that they've been playing better football than they did with the coach. So with Mike Wright. So I have no idea what's going on with the Panthers. I really don't. So
we'll see on this one too. The Rams and the Giants. Can the Giants defense be able to hold that offense? No. I say no in that one too. They don't have enough corner depth against these very talented wide receivers, and that offensive line against Aaron Donald. Good luck.
I want to go with Tyrod Taylor. I really do, because I think Tyrod Taylor is more explosive than obviously Mr. DeVito. But I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to go with the Rams. I think the Giants will have a chance to win. The Rams have had problems stopping running quarterbacks. And I think Tyrod Taylor is going to be able to use his legs and open up the field. And I think the Giants will be in this game one way or another. But I'm going to go with the Rams. The Rams need this. The Rams want to make the playoffs. They need this more than the Giants. The Giants are completely out of the playoffs. So give me the Rams on the money line.
All right, blowout number 3. The Eagles destroying the Cardinals in this one. They have no defense.
Yeah, I'm going with the Eagles. The Eagles need this game. The Eagles need to win out and hope that the 49ers lose and the Lions lose for them to win the conference. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Eagles will be a number 2 seed. And they'll be playing the number 7 seed in the first round of the playoffs. So give me the Eagles on the money.
All right, these two teams actually a little matter more, but starting with the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 42.5. The Bucs are a weird team. Sometimes they look like they have a potent passing attack, but other weeks they don't. I'm going to take the Saints, though, because of that, because of the track record they have against Mike Evans. They haven't really gotten the secondary targets going yet, and I don't think Rachaad White, who's been great in recent weeks, is going to have that big game either. The Bucs defense has been good at certain points, but I think the Saints' ability to stretch the field will still be able to help them out. Give me the Saints in an upset here.
Oh, I love the Buccaneers in this game. Baker Mayfield is one of the comeback players of the year. He's been sensational. He's going to get a contract. If it's not from the Buccaneers, it'll be from somebody this offseason. But I love what Baker's done. I like what Mike Evans is going to, what he's been doing, what he's going to make in the offseason. Somebody's going to pay him a lot of money if it's not the Buccaneers. And I think they're starting to get healthy, and they're dangerous. If they make the playoffs, they can knock out so many different teams. This defense is as good as any defense in the league the last couple of weeks. Give me the Buccaneers on the money line.
All right, a game that has a little bit of wild card implications. The Raiders trying to hang on. The Colts in the 7th spot right now. The Colts at home in this one, 43.5 the over-under. Another weird team to trust. The Raiders defense starting to play very well. The thing is, Jonathan Taylor is back for the Colts. He had a nice first quarter, kind of struggled in the second half against the Falcons, but the Raiders run defense still not finding it. So I'm going to take the Colts in this one in a very tight one.
I'm going with the Colts in this game. They're at home. Listen, I think the Raiders have had a sensational year, especially Antonio Pierce. You definitely have to look at Antonio Pierce taking over as the head coach.
Yeah.
He's had a very good effect to this team ever since he's taken over the team. It doesn't say a lot about what McDaniels was over there, but I will say this. I think the Colts are a good team. I think their coach should be up for coach of the year. For all the lackluster quarterback play this year, losing Richardson, and then Minshew has been very good, but not great. I think the Colts have been sensational. And Jonathan Taylor didn't play until week 4 or week 3. And he really hasn't been the same Jonathan Taylor because he didn't have much of an offseason. I like the Colts in this game. I think the Colts blow out the Raiders in this game. Give me the Colts on the money.
All right, the biggest game of the week somehow stayed in the 1 o'clock time slots. The Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens, 46.5. No Jalen Waddle for the Dolphins. He has been ruled out. And for that reason, I definitely have to take the Ravens on this one because Miami is going to have to rely on a lot of their secondary targets. The Ravens, not the same secondary depth as we've seen in years past with their corners, but they've still been able to get depth with linebacker and safety. So they would have to take advantage in other areas. They don't have great tight ends. I think you look at a Chan to have a nice game, potentially the passing game, but Tyreek Hill and Marlon Humphrey, I think, will cancel out in a way. And the Ravens, even though the Dolphins defense has played well, I think the Ravens offense will be too much. Give me the Ravens.
Let's be honest. The Ravens don't lose at home. And if you look at Lamar Jackson's record, I think he only has 2 losses at home.
Including one of the Giants.
Honestly, the guy doesn't lose at home. I think it's going to be wet out on Sunday in Baltimore. And I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a sensational game against a defense that's up and down all year long. I think they're going to be able to run the Dolphins as well. But they're not going to be able to run against this defense significantly. They're not going to break 100 yards. They're going to have to throw the ball. Is Tua going to do enough in Baltimore to beat Lamar Jackson? I do not think so. Give me the Ravens on the money.
All right, go to the 4 o'clock games. Another potential blowout central. The Niners, they got the Commanders. That is, I think, a 50 spot that could be on by the 49ers. I know Brock Purdy had 4 interceptions last week, but this seems like a good redemption spot. Niners blowout.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. The Commanders couldn't beat the Jets, okay? And I'm going to tell you this right now. Washington's not going to make a difference. The 49ers are going to put up a 40 spot against this Commander team. It's embarrassing that the Commanders even going to play in this game. Look at the flip of the records, 11-4 to 4-11. It's not going to be even close. Washington loses. Give me the 49ers on a blowout. I would say I would pick the over in this game.
They might get the over on their own. It's 48.5. They could definitely get that on their own.
Definitely.
Pittsburgh at Seattle, 41.5 the over under for this one.
This is going to be a good game.
This is going to be a good game for sure. 2 very good coaches. The Steelers have overperformed defensively, but
This might be
offensively.
is this Seattle's last home game?
Probably.
This might be Pete Carroll's last home game.
Yeah, and what's interesting with this is both teams have had good offenses that have moved the ball well, but have also been turnover prone too. So opportunistic defenses will be a very big key. But I think with Seattle getting a lot of their offensive linemen healthy, I still trust their offensive play calling a little more than I trust the Steelers, even though they have been struggling in recent games. So I'm going to take the Seahawks. It will be a very close game. I'm going to take them on the under.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I cannot see Pittsburgh losing this game. Pittsburgh needs this game just as much as any team. The Seahawks could still make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. They're in the 7th spot right now.
They could still make the playoffs if they lose this game. Pittsburgh loses there. I don't think they make the playoffs. They need this game more. I think the defense is explosive. I think TJ Watt's going to have a big game. I think he's going to run Geno Smith off the field. And Geno Smith, who has not been 100% healthy, really in the second half of the season, he will be back this week, or he will be playing this week. It's not going to make a difference. Give me Pittsburgh on the money.
All right, the LA Chargers and the Denver Broncos, a matchup that definitely lost a lot of lust with Russell Wilson benched and Justin Herbert hurt. But I'm going to take the Broncos, though, because I still trust their defense a little bit more. Now, the Chargers defense did look pretty good in certain spots against the Bills, but I still trust the Broncos defense a little more. Give me Denver in a tight under.
You're going to go with Denver?
In a tight under, yes.
Why?
I trust their defense more. It's pretty simple.
I can't go. You trust Jarrett Stidham?
I don't trust Easton Stick either.
Well, that's true too. This is a really big. All right, I'm going to go with the Broncos. I'm not going to say much. I'm going to go with the Broncos on money line. And Kareem Hunt just had a touchdown. That pisses me off.
No Jerome Ford touchdown.
I don't understand. They have 3 running backs. Jerome Ford is their best running back. Why isn't he playing a significant amount of time? I don't want to see Kareem Hunt on the field. I want to see Jerome Ford.
The old man, Kareem, well, he's not old, but the veteran guy, Kareem Hunt, and the young stud, Jerome Ford, but they give it to Kareem Hunt on the goal line. Are you playing Mikey C in the finals or something
Mikey C's not even made the play.
He didn't even make the playoffs. Okay.
No, Mikey C stinks. I mean, Mikey C team, I think they had 5 wins the whole season. I was 10-4. Mikey had 5 wins.
Mikey.
I kicked the hell out of Mikey when I played him too, by the way.
Oh, Mikey say. All right, Sunday Night Football, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I do think this will be closer than expected because the Bengals defense has still held their own, except for the Steelers games the last couple of weeks. They actually held their own on the Colts, which have been a hot offense. They held their own against the Jaguars. I know Trevor Lawrence got hurt, but still, I think they've played well. I think they will keep this game close. It's always a heated rivalry with these two teams, but I do think the Chiefs pull it out late. Give me the Chiefs.
I think Patrick Mahomes and a guy like Travis Kelce is going to have an explosive game against this defense. Travis Kelce has been attacked really by the media all season with the whole Swiftie thing and Taylor Swift. And Patrick Mahomes yelling and screaming at his offensive line. The offensive line is going to have a big game. Yes, a big game. The Chiefs' offense right now is ranked 9th in the league. Their defense is ranked second. They're one of the best defenses in all of football. And their passing attack is fourth, which is crazy, with no top-end wide receiver and 20th in rushing. I think they're going to be able to run the ball in this game. I think they're going to be able to throw the ball against this team. I think Patrick Mahomes has over 300 yards in this game, 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a sensational game. I think they're going to shut up the opposing press and media antics the last couple of weeks. Give me Patrick Mahomes. Yes, you heard it from me. Kansas City blowing out the Bengals in Kansas City.
Alrighty, the Monday night game, the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings.
Last Monday night game.
43 and a half, the over-under, yes. And Jaron Hall will be starting at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. It will not be Nick Mullins after he had a really bad game against the Lions. The Packers will be without
him up. It doesn't really help me.
The Packers will be without Jair Alexander. He was suspended for intruding the coin toss, which was very weird. He's not a captain, but he was in there anyway. And that's why I'm going to pick the Vikings in this one, because the Packers' corner depth has to be tested against Justin Jefferson, who's come back too. Now, Addison was hurt in that game. I don't know how well he'll play, if he even plays at all, but I do think the Packers are going to have some trouble without him.
You're going to trust a rookie quarterback?
Because here's the thing. The Vikings' defense has actually been really good in the second half of the season, too. I think it's going to be more of a low-scoring game. A lot of these divisional primetime games are. Wes says it all the time. The play is uglier. I trust the Vikings be able to run the ball a little more than I do with the Packers. Aaron Jones has not been great, and Brian Flores has done very well defensively. So give me the Vikings in this one.
I'm going to go with the Packers. I don't trust the Vikings. Jefferson will have his game. We expect that. But I'm not a big fan of the Vikings. I don't trust a BYU quarterback, by the way. As we all know, one of them played for the New York Jets. He was all right, so I don't trust it. And he's a rookie quarterback. I don't expect him to put up the numbers I think Jordan Love's the better quarterback in this game. I think he puts up enough, and he plays better in this game than we expect him to against this defense that's played well the last couple of weeks. Give me the Green Bay Packers on the money line.
Alrighty, so a couple little disagreements. We'll see how this one goes.
Well, we need to have disagreements. Okay, Speedy? We need disagreements. Where am I at?
No, I gained 2 games on you, so I am up by 8 now.
There you go. I'm not winning this year. But I am winning. I am winning.
You're winning the weekend crunch, and I think you gained 2 games on me on the weekend crunch.
What can I say? I'm gifted.
The unders did not work for me.
You know what it is? I'm just going to throw this out there for people. I don't want to pick the same games as you. And early in the season, I wanted to pick crazy games, and I did. I picked a lot of crazy games, but never. By the way, Izzy drops the ball. Wonderful.
Yep. Punch out.
Wonderful. And Izzy looked really good. And by the way, please give the ball to Jerome Ford. Please. I mean, I need more touchdowns, baby. Hector, what are we doing here? I'm serious. I'm losing control here. I need points. I want to win a championship. I am pissed off. What is this? Are they dancing around now? What's going on?
They're not allowed to
It's 4. Oh, 4's on there.
They're not allowed to celebrate.
There we go. 34 is on the field. I love
throwing the ball.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There it goes.
And there's a
penalty.
flag.
There you go. And that's on the Browns, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you. Well, no less over here. He's running off now. Are you telling me Jerome Ford is already going to run off the field?
They rotate running backs a lot.
I don't want to see that. I want to see him on the field. I want to see touchdowns, baby. Hector, I'm losing it here. I lose Amari Cooper, and now Jerome Ford is not touching the ball. This is bad. All right, 2nd down. All right.
Hector's used to rotational running backs and bad running back play at certain points, but the Browns have actually had good running backs.
I want to throw up. Okay, this is sickening. I can't sit here and watch this garbage game. I mean, I expect the Jets to get torched in this game, but at least give my guys some points, baby.
Yeah, it's not like the Thursday night game at the end of the year last year where you were getting angry on the show.
Now Kareem Hunt's on the field. Of course, Kareem Hunt's on the field. And there he is. He's blocking.
Play action. Flacco looking, and he's going to throw it away.
Yeah. There we go. I don't want to see Kareem Hunt run the ball anymore. I don't want to see it. I want to see my guy, Jerome Ford, on the field. All right, we got Reno Johnny, we got Hector. Why don't we go to a quick break? When we come back, we have Let's Parlay as Reno Johnny is enjoying himself in his car again, Mr. Coach himself, and our friend Hector. When we come back here on the Sports Loudmouth.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the Speedster, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey. By the way, I'm still sick. I cannot get rid of this post-nasal drip. It's terrible. I'm speaking through my nose, ladies and gentlemen. Over here, the flu, we got all these sicknesses. How many flus do we need? You got Reno Johnny. He lives in like Arizona, Las Vegas, so it's dry over there. The post-nasal drip doesn't exist over there. And we have Hector. I don't know where he is, but it's better.
San Diego.
Oh, even better. There you go. Dry and beautiful. 70 degrees all the time. But anyways, we call this segment, Let's Parlay.
Parlay, ole, ole, ole. It's time for Let's Parlay.
No Wes, no Mountaineer, no problem, ladies and gentlemen. Because we got Reno Johnny, he's driving, Coach Reno Johnny, and Hector, ladies and gentlemen. This is his first Let's Parlay, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm looking forward. So, Hector, I'm going to give you the rules to this. You're going to give me your top three. We're going to go one at a time. First Reno, then you. And you're going to go through three picks, and then you're going to give us your fourth pick, which is going to be your parlay. And the fans can keep tabs on it because you guys have been sensational. You're over 70%. You've been fantastic. Better than the books of Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go. Are you ready, Johnny?
Sounds like I'm always ready.
All right. Are you ready, Hector, Mr. Hector Camacho? I think he's a little slow over there.
He's slow.
He's frozen. There he goes.
Let's see what his write-up is. The thumbs up. The thumbs up.
Who's talking over there? Who's streaming? Is that Wes?
No,
Wes is intruding.
Hey, look, we are in a car right now. We are headed to the Alamo Bowl. I'm going to the Alamo Bowl, Arizona versus OU. That's where we're going right now. But I like the Miami Dolphins, and this might be the play of the what are you thinking? But look, I got the Ravens, right? They just won a massive game in San Francisco. It's a game where everybody's talking about they're the best team in the league. Give me the Dolphins. I got +4. It's down to 3, down 3.5 some places. Give me the Dolphins. I didn't win the game outright. I just a letdown spot for the Ravens. The same thing with Cowboys a couple weeks ago, right? We saw this. Everybody questioned me, right? A couple weeks ago, I was on the Bills. Everybody's on the Cowboys, and this is where I'm at here. Give me, all right. We're gonna take the Miami Dolphins to win the game outright on the money line, right? We'll take the +3.5 double time. That's who wins the game.
I'm gonna take the over that you're drinking. Am I right?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Looks like
Absolutely. But you know what? Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I'm winning these bets.
Looks like our friend Jarvis Green when he was first on our show and he was in the limo or whatever drinking.
He's got one of those fruity drinks. He's got one of those fruity drinks. All right. Hector, give us your first pick.
All right, then let's go then.
All right, I always try to stay away from the emotional side of things, but I think my Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna actually respond this time, and they're gonna come through, and they're gonna win. Oh, my dog's not agreeing with me right now. Sorry, but I'm gonna take my Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3.5 on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. They're gonna win it outright, I think, but I'll just hedge my bet with the 3.5. And then the second one, I'm gonna go with. I heard you a while ago, and I totally agree with that one. Kansas City.
No, John, no, Hector. We're gonna go with that. We'll alternator. You pick your next one after Johnny picks his second one.
Okay.
All right.
Weird.
All right, Johnny. Give us your second pick.
Weird, because I actually am going to go on to the Bengals game here. I think the Bengals at a touchdown. It's really hard to not pick, right? The Bengals off a terrible game last week. They got destroyed by the Steelers. I look at the Bengals here. Good running game. Quarterback that's been able to kind of move the ball through the ground. I think the Bengals at +7 is almost like a guaranteed you have to play, right? So I'm sorry. Again, we're going crazy here. I think the Bengals here can win the game outright. +7's kind of ridiculous. I think that last week was a very big anomaly for them to not be in that game. I'm going to take the Bengals here to win the game outright. I think they can win the game. They're better running attack. They're better passing. The Chiefs have really been a disappointment all around. Every time we see them, they've been a
Don't
disappointment.
tell Wes that. Don't tell Wes that.
They have. I mean, have they not? Have they not? And they've been unable to move the ball through the air. Patrick Mahomes, they had nobody catch the ball, right? So give me the Bengals here, not to win the game, but +7, plus a whole touchdown. I'll take that any day of the week.
Okay. Hector, give us your second pick.
My second pick will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, -2.5 against the New Orleans Saints. I think the Buccaneers are rolling with the former Browns quarterback now, and he actually lasted longer than Russell Wilson. Weird to say, not really, because Wilson was kind of like on the outs when he started the season. Yeah. So pretty much, I'm liking Tampa Bay to win that division, and I'm surprised it's only 2.5. I think they're gonna steamboat these guys by 3 touchdowns. So that's my second one.
All right, Mr. Reno, Johnny, give us your third pick.
What
do you like? Different spots? You like different spots. Where are you walking to? Where are you going? Another bar?
I'm going to the Alamo Bowl. I'm legit going to the Alamo Bowl. This is like we're in downtown San Antonio right now. So
where's Wes? Let me see Wes. Let me see this guy. Let's see this guy.
We're about a block away from the Alamo Bowl. That's what we are. We're here. I'm telling you, we're live. Yeah, I'm gonna the last one of my third pick. I won't pick that. My third pick here is gonna be on the Giants. +5.5. If you can get 6, take the 6. We're looking at a Rams team that has really been riding high the last 3 or 4 weeks. Winning a lot of games, running the ball, passing the ball. Matt Stafford's a great. Yada, yada, yada. This is a team that in the Giants, I actually think Tyrod Taylor should have probably been the guy here a couple weeks ago. He has been hurt. That's why they kind of gave the reins to DeVito. I think that the Giants can win this game outright. I think the Rams are looking at trying to win this game and getting into the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. Give me the Giants to win the game, maybe outright, but I'll take the +5.5. Officially +5.5. Either way, give me the Giants. They're the better team. They can run the ball. They can move the ball. And if I don't want to say this, but could they have beat the Eagles? I think so. I think they got a couple bad calls there to not beat the Eagles. So I'll take the Giants at +5.5, +6, money line, whatever you want.
All right, Hector, give us your third pick.
My third pick is the good old Las Vegas Raiders, baby. They're still technically alive somehow. They got like a 2% chance to make the playoffs, but they're showing me a lot the last few games, not just with the blowout of the Chargers by 63-20, but the last game that they played, they beat Kansas City, and they're looking like a team with Antonio Pierce as their head coach. They're only 3.5 underdog against Indianapolis Colts, and I think they're going to win that one outright. I think they're going to keep that momentum going and bring it down to the force the Chiefs to win their division. And I'm liking the Raiders plus 3.5.
All right, Mr. Reno Johnny, give us your final pick, your parlay.
Gotta go opposite. I actually like the Jaguars to win that game. I like them to win them big. Look, I'm a big fan. I've been cheering them on the entire season. I like the Raiders. However, I look at the Colts as a team that probably should have been one of the worst teams in the league this year. They were bottom. They were picked to be bottom 5, right? And you look at a team that's been able to move the ball, run the ball, play defense, play good line, both offensively and defensively. And I look at the Raiders, and look, I love Antonio Pierce. I think he's going to be a great coach in the NFL. He probably gets a job. He probably gets the NFL Las Vegas Raiders job. Give me the Colts. I think that with Colts win the game. I'll take a -3. It's up to 3.5. Would not take the 3.5. I think the 3 at the most is what I would take. I think they're a better team. I think they can run the ball. Give me the Raiders to lose the game, more than 3 points, and Colts get to the playoffs.
All right, Reno, you be careful. No driving, man. No driving for you. Enjoy the game.
We don't drive. We don't drive when we drink.
Well, I know you're drinking, so you just be careful over there, man. I don't want to see you kill yourself, all right? I want to see you on the show again, all right? We love you. Stay careful. Tell Wes. By the way, before you go, tell Wes one thing. Tell him one thing, and I want him to understand this. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs stink. Tell him that. All right. There you go. Reno Johnny. Reno Johnny as Worldwide Wes enjoying his drinking or whatever the hell they're doing over there at the football game. All right, Hector, give us your final pick of the night.
I'm going to wrap it up with the San Francisco 49ers going absolutely ham against the Redskins, against the Commanders. And 2 touchdowns, 13 points. Their last I checked, 13 points. Brock Purdy, 5 interceptions against the Ravens on Monday Night Football. That's definitely going to be something that he's going to be thinking about. He's already lost the MVP race because of that game, so he's got a point to prove now for himself and his team. And they still want to get that first seed in the NFC, and it starts against the Commanders. 13 points. They're going to cover that easy. I think they're going to win by 3 touchdowns at least going away. And give me the 49ers all day, baby.
All right. Hector, thank you for your first Let's Parlay. You were fantastic. We will keep tabs on your picks. Reno Johnny getting drunk, getting wasted, enjoying going to a football game. So how wonderful. And I knew he was slurring, so I knew he was drinking. But hey, at least he came on. He gave us some time. Wes didn't. He's hanging out over there getting messed up, and he doesn't want to be, illiterate or whatever you call it. I mean, when he drinks, I've seen Wes drunk. So he doesn't even know how to speak English when he's drunk. So anyways.
Hopefully he gets some action, and I don't mean parlay action.
Oh, hopefully he gets action too, I mean, I hope his wife's with him. He gets some action too. Anyway. Anyways, thanks, Hector. Anyways. Yo, Wes is crazy, man. Have you ever seen Wes drunk?
I have not.
Oh my God. That guy is one of the craziest people when he gets drunk, and he's going to a football game with Ohio State. Oh my God. That's just crazy. You do not want to be next to Wes when his Buckeyes are playing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's just my opinion. Anyways, when we come back, we will be talking to our friend, Off the Ball Network NBA analyst, Chris Bolton, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I am the Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, hanging from his underwear as always. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy P every single Wednesdays and Thursdays. All you have to do to tune into our shows and see our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. I don't know if anybody's ever listened to this show or seen this show, but Speedy actually wore his dirty underwear on his head because he lost a bet. Speedy, do you remember that?
I do.
You remember? Who do we interview?
Yeah, it was our friend Mr. Pete. For the first time, he had to see me.
That's right.
And it was funny. Pete Bursick, ex-Vikings linebacker. This was the one funny part of it. He said I looked like the drummer from Cinderella.
You did. You absolutely did. And
that one I will take pride in because I do like 80s hair.
Just so everybody knows, I did not smell the underwear. I did not touch the underwear, but it was dirty. And Speedy actually wore it on his head. It looked like a bandana. That's what it looked like. It looked really good on you, Speedy. I think you should start a new trend.
No, that I will not do.
Why not? I think you
I'm
look
not.
good.
Nope.
I think it'd be big.
No,
I think it'd be very interesting.
No.
Listen, I know you don't wear your underwear all the time. You've admitted that. Did you not?
I didn't for one show.
So you did you hear that?
You know what you call that?
Chris?
A small sample size.
Well, you're going to tell me it's just one show?
Small sample size.
I'm going to tell you guys something. Speedy is a liar, okay? He doesn't wear his underwear the majority of the time, and he has told me off air. He's lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to get into it. Anyways, we're very happy to have him on. He's been on our show before. He's coming on. It was a last-minute thing. We're very happy to have him on. We're now talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton. Chris, what's up, bud?
What's going on, fellas? And I am happy to be on the show with my underwear intact.
There
the
you
way
go.
I'm getting currently right now. So
No,
just
that's
wanted to
good,
be-
man.
Yeah. Just put
Do you like boxer briefs or boxers?
I'm a boxer briefs kind of guy. The best of both worlds, I feel like.
I am too. I like the boxer briefs. And to me, for some reason, it's the express underwear that I go with now. It's just something around the waist, and I would say, and around my leg, it doesn't squeeze the nuts. Okay, so
Not
I'm
too much
gonna
hugging
go-
action. So yeah, I understand. Right.
You know what it is as you get older, your nuggets stick to your leg. And they stick to my leg, but for some reason with these express underwear, they don't. Speedy, does your nuggets stick
That is
to your
way
leg?
too much underwear analysis.
But
for
does your nuts stick to your leg?
I don't know, and I don't care.
You don't know if your nuts stick to your.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Well, I do know you don't shave over there, so that's just a whole nother story.
And that's enough
Anyways.
underwear analysis for today.
Anyways, Chris, I want obviously you're a Warriors guy, you're a 49ers guy,
Yes,
and
sir.
you're a Nets fan. So let's go into first the 49ers, because the 49ers have been absolutely outstanding. Some people say they're the best team in football. Brock Purdy has had an MVP year. Christian McCaffrey has an MVP year. I mean, Ayuk is going to be going for a big contract in the offseason. The 49ers are going to have to pay him a lot of money. Deebo Samuel's made a lot of money over the last couple of years. He's back. He's healthy. This team is flying on all cylinders. What are your thoughts to this year with Brock Purdy? And do you think that this team is a Super Bowl contender now than they have been over the last couple of years?
Definitely. I love how this team has been playing this year. Brock Purdy, he has stepped in and continued what he was doing last year when he was inserted into the starting position after going 7-0 in the regular season, led the team to the NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, got an elbow injury against the Eagles early on, so we didn't get to see the great matchup that we were anticipating in that game. But for him to come back sooner than anticipated after the surgery and to put up the numbers he's put up this season and have the kind of year that he's had has been key for this team. And he's really just, I wouldn't say he's carrying this team. He's just doing the job, but also mixing in, making plays when needed. So I thought he's been doing very well. I think this team is legit. Like you said, I mean, if you look at the roster, you know, from top to bottom, this is probably the team with the best collection of talent across the NFL on both sides of the ball. So all 49ers fans should be feeling good right now. You know, it was kind of rough getting beat up by the Ravens on Christmas in front of the whole nation, but a couple fluke interceptions, a couple bad reads, you know, and honestly, the team didn't get beat as badly as I think they should have when you have that many turnovers in the game. So all things are pointing in the right direction for the Niners.
So if you were to say one weakness of the 49ers that you're most afraid of in the playoffs, what would that be? And also, which team are you most afraid of?
The weakness, I believe, is probably health. I mean, honestly, like can Debo stay healthy? Can Kittle stay healthy? Can Trent Williams stay healthy at that tackle position, holding it down to left tackle? That's been the weakness for this team when they haven't been able to go on the full runs. It's been because of the health. But outside of that, it might be, can you trust Brock Purdy to not necessarily, you know, mess up? Will he be sharp? The 49ers were going down the field, the first drive against the Ravens. You make a bad read, Kyle Hamilton intercepts the ball, and it's just a trickle-down effect, you know, after that happened. So can he continue to do his job, make the right reads? That is the thing that I think, you know, is probably the weakness for this team. And sometimes the secondary. The secondary has been exposed before. We saw in the Bengals game when Joe Burrow was finally healthy, when he finally had two legs, he was picking apart the 49ers secondary on defense. So I think the front seven we know is solid. It's that back half of the defense, the four secondary players that have to definitely hold down the fort.
I think there's a lot of questions with the offensive line, and Trent Williams going into another playoff where he's not 100% healthy. You know what happened to Trent Williams in the NFC title game last year. Brock Purdy tearing his UCL and coming back as fast as he did this offseason is pretty spectacular. And they've had a good season, and they've looked really good, and they look unstoppable. They do, except against the Baltimore Ravens, and some people predict it could be Baltimore and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. As everybody knows, we are talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton. You know, when you look at the 49ers, there's a lot of questions, you know, obviously with Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a great regular season coach, but when he goes into the playoffs, he's always coached good running teams. If you look at the games, look at the teams that they had when they went to the Super Bowl with the 49ers, when he was the coach of the 49ers against Kansas City, he stopped running the ball with the last 5 minutes of the game, which cost him that game against a Kansas City team, a Chief team that was down by, I think it was
double digits in fourth quarter.
I think it was 10 points with 5 minutes left. They let Kansas City come back in the game because they stopped running the ball. If you remember Kyle Shanahan, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, what did they do in the fourth quarter where there was a 99.9% chance of winning that game? They stopped running the ball. They started throwing the ball with Matt Ryan, which cost them the game. I think Kyle Shanahan in late games, he for some reason, he stops doing what they're strong at, and that's running the ball. If Kyle Shanahan does that in the playoffs this year, they will lose. Why do you think Kyle Shanahan, with all these years and what he likes to do with running the ball, why do you think he stops running the ball with the last 10 minutes or last 7 minutes of the game, which costs both teams a championship?
I have no idea, because if you remember in that same playoff run, the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl. They played the Vikings, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times that game. So he's shown that if it's working, then he'll continue to just run the football. So it made no sense for him to repeat that. And you would think someone would learn their lesson after, allowing a team to come back from the greatest margin ever in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's. I think by now he has to have learned his lesson. So if they make it to that point now, I feel like
You want to bet on that?
hey, I am a scarred Niners fan, so no, I do not want to bet on that. So.
I would, because he's a Shanahan, and if anybody remembers Mike Shanahan and what he liked to do in the playoffs is what? He liked to run the ball. And he had one of the a Hall of Fame running back who, by the way, should not be in the Hall of Fame. I don't believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, but nevertheless, he's very well spoken in the NFL, and the committee loves him, and that's why he made it. And he's a Hall of Famer. But nevertheless, Mike Shanahan, he never stopped running the ball. Why did they win those Super Bowls? Everybody wants to give John Elway all the credit. It was because they can run the ball, and that's what their defense, and they can run the ball, and that was the difference maker. And not to say John Elway wasn't, but they can run the ball. So I didn't understand it. As you know, we were talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton.
So I just want to go back to the question but I said before, like, who are the biggest threats do you think to the 49ers, both in the NFC and if they do go to the Super Bowl in the AFC?
So looking at the NFC landscape, I'm not moved by the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles are that good. The Cowboys can pose a threat, but fortunately for the 49ers, I feel like the weakness of that Cowboys defense is when it comes to stopping the run. So that kind of plays into the 49ers' hands if they do meet up. I think the Packers are an interesting team. Over the years, the 49ers have had the Packers number. But I think they are a squad that they have been playing well. It'll be interesting to see how Jordan Love is on the big stage in the playoffs, how he fares. But I think the Packers are a team that can make some noise in the postseason in the NFC. And the Buccaneers have been playing well as well, but I feel like the 49ers should beat the Buccaneers. So honestly, in the NFC, I think the 49ers, they are their biggest threat. They just should, if they continue to play the way they should and have been all season, I feel like nobody in the NFC should stop this team. Then you turn around, look in the AFC. I like what I've seen from the Buffalo Bills lately, ever since they made the coordinator change and become rely more on James Cook in the running game and gave Josh Allen less opportunities to screw up and throw the game away. The Bills have been looking like a serious threat. So I think the Bills, the Ravens, those two teams would definitely come to mind out of the AFC, and the Dolphins too. I mean, you can't count out Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and those guys, but I would say the Ravens and the Bills out of the AFC.
So let's get into some basketball conversation. We all know you write for the Warriors. We all know you're a Warriors guy.
Yes,
and to me, this Warrior team has fallen off faster than any team I've ever seen fall off. This is a team that won a championship a couple of years ago. They beat the Celtics. I mean, Steph Curry had his first, he won his first MVP in the playoffs. You would expect that this team was going to make at least one more run. They re-signed Draymond Green. They re-signed Klay Thompson. It hasn't worked. They traded Wiseman. They've traded away Poole. They're youngsters. They haven't really developed any other player. Their GM decides to part ways with the organization. I mean, there's nothing that's been good over the last couple of years for this team. They have Steph Curry playing on a high level still. He's the only player that you could move right now and get a significant amount back for him. Draymond Green is, choking out people and trying to knock out people or trying to murder people he's playing 90s basketball when they don't play 90s.
And 90s wrestling.
Yes, whatever you call it. I mean, we can call it Draymond Green wrestling. We'll call it the DWF or whatever the hell it is. But nevertheless, the Golden State Warriors are a mess. And now you don't even know if they're bringing Steve Kerr back. So, this team is a complete mess. What has been the downfall of this team?
There's a few things that come to mind. I feel like Steve Kerr, he has a certain way he wants to coach a team and the style of basketball he wants to play. And he hasn't allowed the younger guys to be able to get the minutes to develop and prove if they can elevate their game, if they can step up and maybe be someone that can carry the mantle. You know, we saw with the Spurs during their heyday when Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Ginobili were getting older. We saw Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi wasn't always the Kawhi we know him as today, but he was given the chance and the minutes and grew and developed and stepped up to be the guy that honestly carried them to their championship that 2014 season after they lost to the Heat. So I haven't seen the guys, the young guys, given the rope, the leash to just be able to go out there and just, you know, make some plays. If you make a mistake, oh well, keep playing. We haven't seen that. We've seen some young guys playing well, and Kerr has refused to ride them out, whether it's to close ball games with the Moses Moody. You know, he was having a game where he was knocking down a bunch of threes in the second half, keeping the Warriors in the game. Well, he gets benched for a Klay Thompson who was struggling. You also have right now, Trace Jackson Davis, the big man for the Warriors, second-round pick. He's been playing much better than Kevon Looney, but he still isn't getting the minutes or the role I feel like he's earned. And same thing goes with Jonathan Kuminga. So now with Draymond's suspension, with some guys injured, we've been able to see some of the younger guys step up and get increased roles. I think we're going to see, has Kerr learned? Because if he continues to rely on the vets, these vets are not athletic enough. This isn't the Klay Thompson before the ACL and Achilles tear. This isn't the younger Draymond Green. So if he wants to continue to rely on veteran players, this team is going to at best be a playing team. But if he gives young guys like Kuminga, Podziemski, and Moses Moody, and those guys a chance to show just how nice and good they are, then maybe one of those young guys break out and show they could be maybe that second star or something and help take this team back to the finals or at least make a deep playoff push.
Yeah, so Draymond Green, he said it was suspended indefinitely at the moment. There's belief that he might have come back in 3 weeks. There's belief he might be longer. What do you think will be the realistic timetable he'll end up being suspended for all this because he has to do all the counseling and stuff like that?
Yeah, I see it being roughly probably 20 games or so, 20, 25 games. I mean, Draymond. You know it's bad when us Warriors fans, we can't even defend Draymond anymore. For so many years, he's been our guy. And I'm sure you guys see on Twitter, even Warriors Twitter has turned on Draymond. So I see him being suspended for a while, but I think it's been a blessing in disguise for the Warriors because, like I said, I mean, Kerr hasn't really wanted to play the young guys. Even Bob Myers, I feel like he left as GM because he didn't want to be the bad guy to be like, yeah, Klay, we're not bringing you back. Or, yeah, Draymond, we're not bringing you back either, you know, making tough decisions. Now, with Draymond out, you had no choice but to play Jonathan Kuminga. Like you have no choice but to play guys like Trace Jackson Davis or Pods, you know, and even insert Moses Moody in the lineup sometimes. So Kerr's hand has been forced, and now we're getting a chance to see what some of the young guys are made of. And like I said, hopefully somebody can break out, but we'll see what happens with Draymond. But I've been fine with him being benched and suspended. It's really helped the team figure some stuff out because it was looking very bad 2 weeks ago. The Warriors just are fresh off a 5-game winning streak. It was looking really bad before that winning streak happened.
As everybody knows, we are talking Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton. He's been on a show before, a friend of the show. Great writer, writes for the Warriors. He's a big 49ers guy, and he's a Mets fan. We'll get into a little baseball as the Mets are completely
former Mets fan, retired Mets fan, but
we'll
get to that.
Well, they've struck out so far this offseason. That's for damn sure. But if you look at the Western Conference right now, 2 teams, actually 3 teams that made the playoffs. I mean, the Los Angeles Lakers right now are in the 9th spot. They made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. They're in the 9th spot. They're not playing good. They're 16-15. They won the tournament. I think that was just, I know everybody loves that, and we've had people say they love the tournament. Tim Hardaway loves the tournament. I think he's out of his mind. I can't stand the tournament. I think it's stupid. I think the NBA was just trying to make money. They're trying to sell jerseys. They're trying to do whatever they can to make more money and bring more revenue into a league that's already worth billions of dollars. The Phoenix Suns, they're a complete bust. I've said that. Bradley Beal was not going to work. You have three players that play the same way. There's only one basketball. It didn't make any sense. And then you have the Golden State Warriors. All 3 teams made it to the playoffs last year, and all 3 teams look like a bunch of garbage. I mean, a bunch of old teams that just don't use the youth that they should be using. They're not drafting right. Phoenix trades away young players and prospects to bring in KD. It hasn't worked there. Then they trade for Bradley Beal. It doesn't work there. Nothing has worked out. And now you'll have Phoenix right now. The only piece that they have that they can move that anybody wants is Devin Booker. And I don't want to hear about Jennings opening his mouth, speaking about KD. Honestly, KD's a good player. Nobody wants him on a team because everywhere he goes, besides the Golden State Warriors, he's failed. He is not a leader. Even though he wants to be the face of an organization and he wants to say he's still one of the best players in the league, the guy can't stay healthy. He's not a leader. What has been the downfall for some of these great players? I mean, KD, he's not a downfall, but he can't stay healthy. Beal is a shell of himself when what he was a couple of years ago with the Wizards, one of the best offensive players in the league. I mean, Golden State, we just talked about Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Yes, age is, but these guys are falling off really fast. It's unbelievable.
It is. And I think a lot of that has to do, one, we talked about Father Time. Father Time is undefeated. But 2, the NBA is a lot better and much deeper than what it was 10 years ago. Or even 5 years ago. I mean, there's some really good young players in this league now. I mean, we've seen a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, the leap he's made. I mean, he's somebody that was traded early in his career, and he's already proven himself to be an all-star player now, and someone that's, MVP contender as well with the season he's putting together with the Pacers. So there's so much talent. The league is so much deeper, down to the 9th and 10th guys on the bench, and then some of the rising stars we have now. So that margin, that separation that guys like KD have had before in the past, or Klay Thompson, there's no separation now. These young guys are legit, and it's showing. Look at the top of the standings. Look at the team the Minnesota Timberwolves have. With Anthony Edwards, he's made the leap. He's the alpha there. He's the dog, and he's leading them to the best record in the West so far. Karl-Anthony Towns is playing well as the number 2. Rudy Gobert, he carried the load as a big man defensive stopper for the Jazz, despite them not having once a good perimeter defender all those seasons. And now he's somewhere where they actually have good pieces, good defenders, Jaden McDaniels, and we see how the T-Wolves are playing. The Thunder have nothing but young players, but they're still a legit team, a contender, and have pieces to make a bigger move and really solidify themselves as a premier team.
They're going to be so good, Chris. I mean,
oh my goodness.
OKC has all those draft picks. They already have a ton of youngsters. They got 3 young superstars on that roster right now. And they have 7 first-round draft picks? And by the way, protected picks too. They're going to have top 5 picks for the next couple of years, and not because of where they're positioned, just because of all the stock that they
because everybody they fleeced.
Yes, it's unbelievable. This team is going to win multiple championships. Something they didn't do with KD, something they didn't do with James Harden, something they didn't do with Russell Westbrook. The ownership and as far as the GM is concerned, they have done everything right, and they've done it in a way that the NBA should look at it and try to value what the OKC Thunder has done over the last couple of years.
For sure. And the thing that sucks about what possibly could happen is all those guys have to get paid. So will they be able to pay them all? Will it be a repeat of where does Jalen Williams, does he be like, you know what, trade me since we can't, figure out the extra $6 million, like the James Harden situation that happened years prior. Hopefully they can figure it all out to keep those guys together, because something I really appreciate it's a team staying together and going through their battle wounds. That's something that doesn't happen anymore too much with so many guys trying to make super teams. But look at over the years, the Warriors didn't just become the Warriors. They lost to the Clippers. They lost to the Spurs. Then they became the Warriors and made that leap. Look at the Nuggets. The Nuggets lost to the Lakers in the conference finals in the bubble. They had injuries. Jamal Murray gets injured. That stunts a year where they possibly can make the leap. Then they become the team that wins the championship last season. So I hope they allow the Thunder to go through the process of learning how to be a champion, and these guys can stick together.
So speaking of super team, we've seen one in baseball this offseason with the Dodgers getting Yamamoto and getting Ohtani, deferring the money contract, which I thought was very brilliant move for them, and both and for Ohtani as well.
Brilliant.
And I know you as you're saying former Mets fan, but a lot of people are blaming Steve Cohen for all this payroll uptick we've seen across the league. So what are your thoughts on all that?
It hurts even though I'm a retired Mets fan.
Who do you root for now? Who do you root for?
I root for baseball. I just sit back and watch the games. Now I'm not going to subject myself, my well-being, my health to being invested in the Mets franchise anymore. That is a decision. I looked myself in the mirror one morning. I said, self, we're not doing this anymore. And I've been living so much better, and my mind has been so much better since then. But
better off.
I mean, it is what it is. It's baseball. This is how it's going to be. It's always been about the pocketbooks, the money, and I mean that's how it is in a sport where you don't have a set salary cap. So may the best bidder win, and so far it's been the Dodgers this offseason.
And by the way, we are talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst Chris Bolton. We speak about the Mets and we speak about the Dodgers and we speak about all these super teams that are getting built now this offseason. I mean, the Yankees added Juan Soto. They gave up a lot for Juan Soto. They're renting him. There's no guarantees they can re-sign him. The Mets are definitely going to go hard on him in the offseason.
For sure.
So are a bunch of other teams, because after seeing Ohtani get $700 million, why not with a 26-year-old superstar player that's won an MVP in the playoffs and won a World Series already with the Nationals that had no business being there. That speaks a volume of who he is as a player in a big game in Juan Soto. But now you look at the league, and we were just talking about deferred money. You look at Kansas City. What are the Royals going to do? What are these small market teams like Cleveland, all these other teams going to do where all the money is getting spent? All these teams are going out there spending big time money for big time superstars. How are these teams on the lower side, these teams that have $60 million, $60 million invested into their whole team when you have a player that's making 70? Just think about this. Ohtani is making more money than the whole Cleveland Indians team. That says a lot. Or the whole Royals team. That says a lot about where the Dodgers are and where the Kansas City or Cleveland Guardians are. So what do you think baseball is going to do with this? Do you think that the MLB with the new CBA and are they going to figure out ways that this is going to even make it better for these other teams, these low cap teams, to go after big name players in the future?
We're going to find out soon, because if the Dodgers are winning, if the Dodgers are making the World Series and everybody is staying up late at night to watch Ohtani and Mookie and all those guys and Freeman play, and all the eyes are drawn to this Dodgers team, everybody keeps up with them for the entire season, it's good for the MLB. So do they want to do something to change it? We will see. But I definitely would like to see something done for the smaller franchises. I think how they will try to combat it is, I think guys will be the track to make it to the majors with some of these prize prospects. I think these guys will be fast-tracked. I think you're going to have to try to get the best talent, whether they are ready or not. Go ahead and get these guys on the field and see how things shake out, because the timelines for some of these teams are dwindling. Like, you think the Reds are built for the future with what they have, but Ellie, as soon as his contract is up, think of the money he's going to demand on the market already. We see it with Ellie. So It's really tough for some of these smaller market teams because we sit back and think like, oh yeah, the Reds come 2026 is they could be a team to win it all. Well, will they be able to? Will they be able to keep Ellie? Will they be able to keep all the other guys, Hunter Green, players like that they have on the roster? We're going to find out soon. So, and we're talking about a Reds franchise that's kind of been notoriously known for being cheap.
I think the Reds. I think a lot of these teams should do what the Braves did a couple of years ago. Pay these guys at a young age. Pay them. Give them a 10-year deal. Tell them we'll give you $150 million for 10 years. These young kids are making nothing right now. They probably take it, and then you control them for the next 10 years. And then when they're 30 years old or 31, then they go to free agency. If they help you win, they help you win. If they don't, they go to free agency and make money on the market. That's what I think these lower
small market teams
should do. I really do. Overpay these players at a young age so you have control of them for a significant amount of time. That's where I would go if these lower market teams can't save or keep their players after their arbitration.
I would 1,000% agree, especially when you've seen them pop and show like, okay, we have something here. Like you don't want to miss out on having something special and keeping butts in the seats, for the rest of these years. Like Reds games people will be going to Reds games as long as Ellie is wearing a Reds jersey.
You love Ellie, man. You in love with him, huh?
I am. I got to see him play. I was living in the Kentucky, Ohio area. So like I was able to go to some Reds games and check him out. Dude he's a stud. Like he is the future of the league, and he's legit. So
we thought that about our friend Wander Franco too, and what happened.
Yikes.
Where is he hiding? He's hiding in a closet somewhere.
Man.
That's an underground bunker in the Dominican Republic, an island nation.
Oh
man.
boy.
Oh God. He's making himself look really bad. This is just go to the authorities, let them speak to you, give them whatever answer you have, and pay off these female families or whoever he was messing around with, and get off this, because that's what usually happens. They're millionaires, they pay off the families, their poor families, pay them off and let them drop the case, because at this point he's looking really, really bad. That even though Tampa will still have to pay him, they're going to be sitting back because nobody's going to want him, and then you can't trade him. And then he's 22 years old and still made his $180 million. Who cares? So it doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, it doesn't. So tough for the Rays.
All right, Chris, we really appreciate you. Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate any of those holidays,
happy holidays, yes, sir.
Yes, and we'll talk to you in the new year, and hopefully the Warriors wake up. I doubt it, but hey, Steph Curry could be traded, maybe.
As long as we don't say Steph can be traded. As long as Steph Curry continues to wear a Warriors jersey. There is hope.
Is there? Is there really hope?
You remember how people were talking very greasy before the 2022 season.
Oh, I like that word. Greasy.
The Steph still have it. But how many more championships will Steph Curry win? He won another. So don't worry. There's still hope.
Yeah, well, you know what? Speedy has greasy underwear, right, Speedy?
Yeah.
And that's enough underwear talk for today, as I mentioned 30 minutes ago.
Well, I'm just saying, you do have greasy underwear, right?
I might not.
Do you have any streaks in your underwear?
I might not. I'm not testing.
Well, I wouldn't tell anybody that you do, especially women. I don't think
just us. It's just us talking.
Yeah, well, I seriously, if he has streaks, I'm
Chris,
starting to
I
worry.
told him a half hour ago that was enough underwear talk, but he doesn't.
It's true. Everybody says I speak about underwear, but underwears are, it holds your thing together.
Thank you for stating the obvious.
I'm just telling you the truth.
Few clothing items more important than your underwear.
Yeah, what's that?
None. So there you go.
Anyways, my friend Chris, Mr. Bolton, are you related to Michael Bolton? I'm just kidding.
Man, I don't know. I can't sing like him. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I can't sing with him too. By the way, Speedy actually sang a song last night, Jingle Bells. Or
No,
Jingle Bells.
I didn't really sing.
Yes.
Think about it as a bad American
You
Idol
do not
audition.
want him to sing, okay? He'll scare everybody away. I didn't even let him finish the song. It made me sick to my stomach. So, anyways, Chris, we enjoy you as always. We'll have you on very, very soon before the playoffs. Enjoy the rest of the new year, and we'll talk to you
Happy New
in the
Year.
Sounds great, fellas. Happy New Year to you guys as well. Looking forward to being back.
Chris Bolton, ladies and gentlemen. He actually came on at the last minute. We love it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to a quick break. And when we come back, this guy, me and him have had our differences over the last couple of times he's been on a show. It's been 2 times. He's got a smile on his face because I'm sure he's looking forward to come on the show. He's now working with ESPN 97.3 and very happy to get him on. When we come back, Austin Krell here on the Sports Loudmouth.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, like, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Oh, a little bringing it back, a little music. 631. Oh, here he goes. Yes! Yes! Touchdown! I'm sorry. I had to go crazy here. Sorry. 631-672-3108. I'm rooting against my team. Who would have thought that? Oh, my God. Jerome Ford with another touchdown. Could I bow down? Could I dance? Anyways, again, you're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey. All you have to do to tune into our shows throughout the week and check our local listing is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Jerome Ford is on my team. I'm in the finals. I lost Amari Cooper for the week. I am dead tired of screaming at my New York Jet team. And finally, everything is working out for me. We hope. Anyways, I was looking forward to getting this guy on the show. Speedy reached out to him. He decided to come on. The last time he came on the show, we went back and forth. The banter. He's a basketball guy. Very happy to have him on. We are now talking to 97.3 ESPN and USA Today 76ers and NBA analyst, our friend, Austin Krell. Austin, what's up, bud?
Fellas, how are you? Good to be back.
Good to be back, my friend. I'm sure you're ready to argue some basketball with me as your 76ers, and Joel Embiid is speaking out, as he always does, and it doesn't seem like he wants to be much of a leader. So why don't we get into it? The 76ers, yeah, it's true. I mean, seriously, he's trying to compare himself to KD or compares himself to himself. I mean, he talks into a third person. Half these basketball players do. Ask LeBron James. He loves talking into a third person. But anyways, Austin, the 76ers right now are the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. They're a great basketball team. They have one of the best players in the league, but it doesn't seem like he wants to be there. What is going on with Joel Embiid? What is going on with this 76er team?
So what makes you think he doesn't want to be there?
Well, I don't know. He's throwing curveballs in the offseason. There were stories coming out he didn't want to be there. There were stories coming out he does want to be there. The whole Ben Simmons thing, he said either you trade me or you trade him. They traded Ben Simmons. They bring James Harden. James Harden doesn't want to be there. He goes to LA and he's sitting pretty over there with, I think Maxi's a great young player. There's no question that he is. But if they plan to bring in another superstar to play with Joel Embiid or give them any chance of knocking off the Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks, because let's be honest, I still don't think they're a good enough roster to beat any of those teams. They're going to need to trade Maxey. What are your thoughts to that?
I think if you trade Maxey, you would end up losing Joel. I think he would be like trading me too, because and that kid's I think arguably the second best guard in the East.
Well, look at this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think you can argue it right now. I think it's Halliburton, Tyrese, and then it's like a big gap between. Well, I would say the gap is between Halliburton and Maxey, and then it's like you're picking hairs between Dame and Brunson and whoever else you want to put in. But Tyrese is legit. As long as he is there, I think Joel will be committed. I think everyone likes to make drama in the offseason, and Joel is no different in that regard. He likes to, make some comments. He's a smart guy. He knows that things will blow up on social media, so he does that. But I mean, he's been nothing short of committed to this franchise really throughout the years. He continues to say all the right things. And
does he?
I mean, at least when it matters, he does.
You're right. He's going to be committed to an insane asylum because, I mean, that organization, they're all over the place. I mean, Doc Rivers is no longer there. Thank God he's no longer there. They have Nick Nurse. By the way, your boy Joel Embiid came out and said before they brought Nick Nurse in, I don't really want to play for him. Now he's back and forth with him. I don't know what is going on. I think Nick Nurse was the best pickup for them in the last 2 years, but Joel Embiid is not a big fan of his. What are your thoughts to that?
Oh, I think I think you have your strategic differences over the years, but I think winning is ultimately what cures all. Nick has Joel playing the best basketball of his career. He's the front runner for MVP again, although the more time he misses with this ankle injury will present its own obstacles to that debate. But they're outperforming what everyone thought they would be up to this point. So, I mean, I don't see how Joel could possibly have a problem with Nick at this stage. I mean, Joel is different than a lot of stars in that, at least publicly, he is someone who portrays himself as an employee of the franchise, and the coach is another employee, and the general manager is the boss. And so that's different than a lot of the culture that you see around the NBA. I think so I think in season he's committed to the franchise. And then you see what happens in the off season. But I truthfully don't think that he is upset with anything at the moment. Tyrese has blossomed into a star. There's a lot of good camaraderie around the team. He feels, for whatever reason, indebted to the city of Philadelphia and that franchise for supporting him through the 2 years he was unavailable to play. I think a lot of guys, most guys, would have said, "Get me out of here." If not this past summer, then summers ago. But I think as long as this core is together and he trusts Daryl Morey like he trusts nobody else, as long as that relationship is there, he's going to be in Philadelphia. Knicks fans, I'm sorry, you guys are not going to get Joel. And
you want to bet?
I mean, we could bet. We could bet that. I don't know what they're going to give up. What do they have besides Jalen Brunson that's worth the damn?
Well, hold on 1 second. They have a lot of draft stock. As far as I'm concerned, the only team that has more
What is draft stock good for when you trade?
But and that's what bothers me, Austin, because the NBA, I don't understand this. You're protected, unprotected. If you trade one of your best players, and I'm talking about Kristaps Porzingis, how do you have control of your protected picks? I don't understand it. The NBA needs to cancel that. That doesn't make any sense. If you're going to get one of that team's best players, you cannot protect those picks. I think it's horrible. I think it affects the NBA and it hurts teams. Look at the Knicks. They traded Kristaps Porzingis to Dallas and they didn't get any first-round draft picks.
Well, first of all, that's their own damn fault for doing that.
Oh,
they were a garbage run organization before that. They're I guess slightly better run now because they have a competent point guard in Jalen Brunson. They haven't lured an actual star to that franchise in how many years? I mean, ultimately it was their own fault that they didn't do enough due diligence to get a better player back in that deal. I also think that Porzingis is one of the fakest stars in the league, and it was probably better off getting. You were probably better off with that ending the way that it did when it did, because there was no.
Look at the smirk on his face. He's loving this.
I'm just being honest with you. Like,
no, you're not.
What was the ceiling with that team, with the Porzingis led team? What was the ceiling? He had one tremendously great year.
First of all, the Knicks never had a ceiling, okay? So I'm just giving you my information here. And the biggest ceiling they had was last year, where they could have knocked off Miami. They should have been the favorites. But, of course, Mitchell Robinson decided to get hurt again during the playoffs. And there she blew, as we saw Miami knock them off. And then Miami go all the way to the championship game.
They certainly blew all right. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And by the way, just so you know, buddy, Hal Burton is great. But for you to say that Tyrese Maxey is better than Damian Lillard or Jalen Brunson, or
I would say right now you're splitting hairs between the three.
Oh, you're crazy. Splitting your hairs.
Yeah, look at the numbers. Statistically, I actually 2 or 3 weeks ago I would have said that Maxey is a sizable difference better than Damian Lillard, and now it's close. Now it's pretty close. His shooting is up a lot. It's a much tighter gap than it was.
What are you drinking today? Whatever you're drinking,
I'm drinking from the honesty. The honesty.
the Krell honesty. Is that what we're gonna call it? We'll call it the AKH, okay? Austin Krell honesty. Okay?
Just like when we said that Chris Paul is better than Steph Curry, right?
First of all, and I'm just so you know, Chris Paul, as good as Steph Curry is, Chris Paul has won. He hasn't won a championship, but if he stays healthy, he's won everywhere he's gone. He's made bad teams good. What has Steph Curry done?
If there's one thing I've learned covering the NBA.
Here we go.
As I watch the Celtics fight tooth and nail to beat the Detroit Pistons on a Thursday. It's that regular season wins largely mean absolutely nothing. You can ask Joel Embiid what have his regular season wins gotten him in this franchise? 0. There's not an insignificant population of Philadelphia that wouldn't care less if they couldn't care less if Joel Embiid was traded today. Because the argument is, what has he done? What have they done in the playoffs? So regular season Chris Paul wins. Sorry, they do nothing for me.
Austin,
Steph Curry's left hand is very heavy because he has 4 rings on it.
Oh, is that what it is? How about being that you're a 76er guy? Did you know that your boy Joel Embiid is the only big man that's won an MVP that's never played in a finals? Did you know that?
It's a team sport.
Oh, that's the answer. Mr. Krell's answer of the day.
But it's different when you're a center versus when you're a point guard. The point guard is the ball is always in your hands. You make the decisions. You govern the entire offense.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to 97.3 ESPN and USA Today 76ers and NBA analyst Austin Krell. I love Austin, and he's a little blind. I think maybe.
I didn't even as bad.
Do you have glasses? Do we need to hook you up?
I was doing some glasses shopping today, actually.
Wow.
I will grant you that.
All right. So, you know what? You could get LASIK surgery. I think that's better. That worked for me. I mean, I was blind as a bat. And now all of a sudden I have the greatest eyes in the world. So
let me ask you this. Would you rather have Jason Tatum or Julius Randle?
Tatum. Oh, Tatum. In a heartbeat. I hate Julius Randle.
I'll let you know a secret. 2 years ago, I would have said, 2 years ago, I would have said Julius Randle.
Well, you're out of your mind. And that just shows you, Austin.
And
that
now
just shows you.
And now Julius drives me crazy in a different way, but Tatum also drives me out of the wall.
So speaking of the top players, the 76ers have been in the rumors for some of them. Zach LaVine, now they said they're out on, but there's definitely some other ones lurking. Is there any player that you think would be a good fit with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, the way this team is currently structured?
Me.
Yeah, Errol Marks. All 5'7" of them.
I'm not 5'7". Wait a second. I'm 5'10.5", buddy. I'm not that small. Okay, 5'7".
I've never
Austin,
met a New
how
Yorker
tall are
who's
you,
5'10".
buddy? How tall are you, Austin?
I am actually 5'10.5".
Oh, so we're the same size. What are we doing here? You're throwing me under the bus,
I've
buddy.
never met I've met a lot of New Yorkers who are loud, but never ones that are 5'10" and a half. They're always top out at about 5'7".
Well, guess what? I might be loud, but hey, listen, I'm not
It
lost.
is the Sports Loudmouth Show.
I'm not lost. Okay. You, on the other hand, I think, you've been hiding things, man. You've been hiding something.
Well, listen, I'll send you the measurements when I get measured.
I don't want your measurements, man.
Are those measurements as accurate as Kevin Durant's measurements, where we didn't know what size he was?
Whatever you're trying to measure, I don't want to see it. Okay.
To answer the question, I was having this conversation today with some friends. I think Bojan Bogdanovic would be a great fit for this team. He's looks a little bit older. I think everyone looks a little bit older when they're on the Pistons because that team is just they're rotting in their core, and it's just like it's hard to like. I know his defense has been bad there, but also like I don't know whose defense has been good there, especially in the middle of the streak. He's a high volume shooter. He's shooting 39% from three on that team, which is saying a lot because they have no spacing and no shooting and no playmaking. So, and I think the thing that makes him extremely interesting, especially for a team like Philadelphia that projects to have, they say, max cap space this offseason, is only $2 million of his contract is guaranteed next season. So, let's say you were to trade for him for the deadline this year, and then you were to say, "Oh, we have a move lined up to sign, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, whoever it might be," right? You can then cut him, and you're only getting hit with $2 million. And guaranteed, on that cap sheet. It's basically the same thing as cutting a minimum deal player in terms of the financials. So if you wanted to say, what's a move that we can make that makes us a better team right now, that also keeps us open financially for this offseason when everyone's trying to cut costs because of the new CBA and, we're the only team that's actually good that has max cap space, that keeps the door open for that still. You're not committed to $47 million like you would be committed to a Zach LaVine. You have it's an interesting opportunity, and we'll see what Detroit is looking to do. They seem to be interested in buying some assets, or at least looking to find ways that they can get better and not be the dumpster fire of the league right now. Troy Weaver has certainly turned some heads in a not a good way this season, so we'll see what his decision making is come trade deadline. But I think I would definitely be in the business of Bojan Bogdanovic, depending on the asking price, of course, or on the selling price, I should say.
We are talking to 97.3 ESPN and USA Today 76ers NBA analyst Austin Krell. There's a couple of players that I could see going right now to the 76ers that could make them a better team. I really do. Trae Young being one of them. I think Trae Young could give him that offense. LaMelo Ball, a player that right now, honestly, the Charlotte Hornets are not a good team.
So why would Charlotte trade him? What would be the incentive to trade him?
They stink. That's the incentive. They stink. They've got nothing to look forward to. The organization was sold by Michael Jordan a year ago. Obviously, Michael Jordan knows that they stink and they're going nowhere. The biggest give that Michael Jordan has done for them was give them LaMelo Ball, and that doesn't say much because his father doesn't shut the hell up still off the air. So, I mean, he's calmed down a little bit, but the guy doesn't shut up. So LaMelo Ball would be perfect for the 76ers. It's a very loud city, Philadelphia. Oh. They're loud. You like the
New York notoriously.
Hold on 1 second. First of all, Mr. Austin Krell, all right, for you to say that Philadelphia isn't loud is crazy.
Oh, we're loud. We're loud enough.
Loud enough. I mean, when you win a Super Bowl, well, how many fans would eat horse crap after they win? Okay, I don't know.
I don't want to hear anything about
Philadelphia fans. That's who would do that.
When you gave Mr. Danny Dimes a big contract,
first of all,
the better quarterback was actually living in his mom's basement.
We're talking about basketball here. I was just throwing you a curveball there. How many fans climb up poles or climb up, buildings after they win a Super Bowl?
To borrow a phrase from a good friend of mine, they're a very passionate group of people. They're a very passionate group of people. Philadelphia.
Oh, there they are. So are Boston people. How passionate are they? They like to yell at, I'm not going to get into Boston. I do enough of that every single day. So, but anyways, Austin, you look at the Eastern Conference and it's wide open. It really is. I mean, we know what the Celtics are. I love what the Celtics did in the offseason. I think Obviously, everybody keeps talking about Kristaps Porzingis, but the point guard's pretty damn good. Okay, he's a defensive guru. He's one of the best defensive players in the league. He could defend any point guard or any guard position in the league. That's something that stands out. But here's the team that really stands out more than anything is Miami. I think they have the best coach in basketball. And if Miami makes a trade at the trade deadline and boasts up this offense
with what
Jimmy
assets?
Butler, yes, but they have Tyler Hero. They can move him.
No one wants him. No one wanted him.
Well, hold on one second. Nobody wants him. He's still a good player, is he not?
He's a very high-level role player with making that.
High level. He's averaging 17 points right now. He's probably
so that even further proves the point, though.
What are you talking about? He's a third option. He's averaging 17 points as a third option on Miami.
Do you remember last season when he broke his wrist and they were
He
immediately
wasn't
a better
healthy.
team? They were better without him, though. They literally got to the finals without him playing.
Do you really
Because
believe
their
they're
defense
better
because their
without
def-
him? Come
I
on.
think again, this goes back to the regular season conversation we were having. Regular season and playoffs, two different animals. And I think Tyler Hero is a player who is a good innings eater in the regular season, and he'll make some shots for you and some plays for you in the playoffs. But by and large, you need two-way players who can switch, who won't get targeted on defense and pick and roll. And Tyler is a classic. We're just going to go at this guy over and over again and pick him apart until Miami gets him off the court.
Well, hold on one second. We all know the NBA in the playoffs becomes a half-court game, does it not? And what
I
do
think
you?
that statement. It's a theme that is largely overplayed, but yeah.
Well, it's not largely overpaid because what happens in the NBA playoffs, it becomes a 3-point game. That's what it becomes. And you need 3-point shooters. And what is Tyler Hero good at? Shooting the three. So
What is he not good at?
What?
What
What
is
is
he
he
not
not
good
good at? He's not good at defense, but half the NBA is not good at defense. Come on. Honestly. How many good players on each team are defensively sound? Honestly. Besides the Celtics who have 3 guys. Honestly.
Wait. The Celtics
four
have 3
guys,
guys on the team that
They
are
have 4.
defensively.
They have 4 guys because you have White. You have Tatum,
6,
Brown. Who? Don't say Kristaps Porzingis because he's not a good
No, he's not a defensive player, but Horford is a very good
Horford
defensive
is an old man, okay?
It doesn't matter. He's
He's
still
an
a very
old
good
man who
defensive
barely
player when it
plays. I mean, I run faster than that guy. I mean, he shouldn't even be on a basketball court anymore.
All 5'4" of you.
Hold on one second, Austin. We just spoke about my size, buddy.
What is this? The height version of the Grinch?
You know what?
Your inches are going to shrink more?
You know what, Austin? I am done, okay? You know what we're going to do? I challenge you to a basketball game, buddy. You get your glasses, you get your LASIK surgery. We pick a day. I will drive wherever you are, Philadelphia, LA, wherever you are, and I'm playing you one-on-one, buddy.
Wait, did you say Philadelphia?
Where? Philadelphia.
Okay, there we go. There was some extra Brooklyn in there.
Oh,
Okay.
first of all, I do not have a deep New York accent. 1, 2, I would say Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia, actually. I actually visit Philadelphia. I actually enjoy it.
We let you in the city?
Yeah, they let me in the city. I see a lot of people laying on the ground and falling asleep. You know, I mean, I was
We're just trying to
walking
imitate
through
New
the
York. We're just trying to imitate New York City.
Oh, is that what you're trying to do? I don't know about that.
Just don't let him go to Ireland.
Here's what
That's a
New
whole other
Yorkers.
story.
Here's what New Yorkers.
Yankees fan or a Mets fan?
Here's what New Yorkers don't do. They don't find like fence to fall asleep on. They just fall asleep on the cold ground. Okay, with Philadelphia people,
That's
they,
supposed to be.
they
That's
find
supposed to be, that's
vents.
supposed to add some charm, like make you tougher. They just sleep on the cold hard ground.
Yeah, just as tough as
Interesting
big guys.
competition we're in right now. Interesting pissing contest, if you will.
Well, if you want to have that, I can win that too.
Okay. On that note,
Pissing contest involving 2 crazy cities. Who will prevail in the end?
That's right. That's right.
I don't know. New York might win with all the rats that are around.
That's true.
Yeah,
They're not rats.
where are the rats bigger, in Philly or New York? Do you think?
I don't know. Maybe
New York.
Maybe we'll
New
ask.
York,
Maybe
yeah.
I'll ask my. Maybe I'll ask the Mets teammates, Jeff McNeil or Francisco Lindor. I don't even know if they know the difference.
Then again, there's probably more horse crap on the ground over there in Philadelphia than there is in New York.
Mm.
So, now,
There
we
is
know
some of that.
Philadelphia
There is
people
some
like
of that in
me.
New York too. It's called Pete Alonso.
Well, first of all, I'm a Yankee fan, buddy. All right. And second of all, Pete Alonso is called the polar bear. Okay. All right. And by the way, I like Philadelphia and I like the Phillies. All right. I love Bryce Harper. I do. I love Bryce Harper. I always loved Bryce. I like Trey Young. I mean,
Trey Young.
I mean,
I'm sorry, Philly.
I'm sorry, Trey Turner. I'm sorry. All right. So
You said you wanted Trey Young to be a Sixer, and I was like, "Whew, that would be a rough one to watch."
Why would that be rough?
I could not be lower on Trey Young.
Why?
I think he's just such a. The guy would never make a pass.
He's perfect for Philadelphia. Are you kidding me? He doesn't shut up. He hates New Yorkers. It's perfect.
He's also a turnover machine, like James Harden.
That's true. I mean, Philadelphia is known for that, so they're turnover machines.
I would say that Trey Young is a perfect example of somebody who, like, okay, he'll make the pass. He'll make the pass if the shot's one pass away. But if you ask him to make the pass to get the hockey assist, he's like, nah, it doesn't interest me.
Austin Krell, ladies and gentlemen, 97.3 ESPN, USA Today 76ers, an NBA analyst. Fantastic. You are fantastic, my friend.
I know. It's because I'm very pro Steph Curry.
Well, maybe that, or you're 5'3".
So now this is the basketball version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Except we're shrinking you guys both 6 inches or whatever, and seeing who will prevail in the Muggsy Bogues Bowl.
How many I have a question. How many of you would it take to get to Mitchell Robinson's height?
I don't know, but I don't want to climb him because he'll probably break. I mean, the guy falls apart every single time, man. I mean, seriously, I've never seen an NBA player that looks good and just breaks down as quick as Mitchell Robinson. It's despicable.
Is this compared to Kristaps Porzingis jumping off a boat and getting hurt?
Well, he did that to himself. Mitch, for some reason, it doesn't matter what Mitch does. He gets on. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if anybody knows his story. His high school coach's wife was very, very sick. I don't know if you know this, Austin. And Mitch asked his basketball. Well, he disappeared for a second. Who's that over there? Who's that in the background, Austin? Who's that?
Don't worry about it.
Who's that, Austin?
Don't worry about it.
Somebody broke into your house?
Yes, wrong neighbor.
Intruder alert!
Your neighbor is in your house, Austin?
That's right.
Anyways, but Mitchell Robinson actually told his coach to come and move in with him while his wife was very, very sick. So I want to give a shout out to Mitchell Robinson. That says a lot about who he is as a person, not just as a broke down basketball player, but a guy that actually is a good-hearted person. So shout out to Mitch.
Do you think if you told him you were 5'1", he'd live with him too?
Now I'm 5'1". What am I, a midget now?
Restricted 3 inches each time. At least he's consistent.
I'm a midget now. I mean, seriously, 5'1". I mean, I'm not that small. I mean, I am 235 pounds, and I do like to work out, by the way. So you better be careful over there, buddy. Because
the Grinch's small muscles shrunk 9 inches that day.
That's right.
Could you imagine 5'1", 230? I must be really fat. I mean, seriously, I'd be an Oompa Loompa. You could call me Charlie in the chocolate factory. So anyways, Austin, we really appreciate your time as always.
No
You're
problem.
fantastic.
Maybe we'll get together and do a comedy podcast sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime you want me to come on, man. But you are fantastic. I love what you're doing. Congratulations on 97.3. You deserve it. Well deserved. And we will talk, my friend. We will talk.
Thank you. Maybe sometime we'll get you and Steph Curry in a room together.
No.
Just so good in a room with Draymond Green.
Just so you know.
Oh, you don't like Draymond? You don't like Draymond Green?
He might go at Draymond Green.
I will beat the hell out of Draymond Green. Okay, and I'm just letting you know that I will smack the what out of Draymond Green. I can't stand him. I mean, don't think I can't take him. By the way,
4'9",
all
versus
5'4".
6'6". I don't know.
Just so you know, I have a background in fighting, so I'm not.
I can tell.
I'm not going to sit. I'm not going to sit here. But you see how Draymond Green put Rudy Gobert in a rear naked chokehold. I will actually lock it right, and I'll put him to sleep just as fast as he put him. Pulls out his little what on Snapchat.
Austin, how much would Draymond Green have to shrink to make it an even fight?
I would say about 3 feet.
I'll take his legs out first.
So we got 4'7" on 5'1" from your
from the last segment ended with you talking about underwear, and now we're talking about Draymond Green Snapchatting things on the internet.
Did he not? Did he not do that?
The shows end very interestingly.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate Austin. When you come on this show, we're here to make you laugh, my friend.
I've definitely accomplished that tonight.
Well, thank you. You want me to bow down to you? I mean,
there we go.
you ever see the TV show Salute Your Shorts? Remember that show? I mean, you're too young, buddy. You're too
That's
young.
right.
All right.
Too young. I wasn't born in 1941. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm that old now too. Well, Jesus, I'm what, 70 years old, 80 years old? I mean, serious. I'm 80. I'm 5'1", and I'm 100 and nothing. Thank you.
He calls every
Austin
guest
Krell.
that's younger than him a baby. So from your logic, every guest we've ever had on the show is a baby.
It's true. It's true. I'm getting up there. Anyways, Austin, we really appreciate you as always. We'll talk to you in the new year, my friend.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Austin Krell, he's blind, and he is blind.
And he's trying to shrink you 3 sizes.
We love him. Thank you, Austin. Thank you for making me laugh and turning my night into nothing.
Well, you shrunk 3 sizes. You're comparing cities again. So maybe Jeff found his new favorite guest because he's an ally of taking shots at New Yorkers, but who knows?
Call me Thumbelina, okay? I mean, obviously. Anyways, go Jets, field goal. Thank you. Great. Field goals really help us win. Anyways, I want to see more of my guy, Jerome Ford. I want to see
that's tough
more
to
of
do
him.
with the Jets on the field right now.
Well, that's true. But when they come off, I want to see Jerome Ford score another touchdown and really set me up very, very well this week. That's all I care about right now.
Yes. No, I'm not saying you shouldn't.
I don't want to see them score.
You're in a championship game in fantasy football versus a Jets team that's already been eliminated.
And I lost Amari Cooper, so that doesn't help me either. Anyways, it's been a great show. Thank you to Chris Bolton, obviously Off the Ball Network NBA analyst. He was fantastic. He came on in the last minute, and we really appreciate him as always. And our friend, 97.3 ESPN, USA Today, 76ers, and NBA analyst, Austin Krell, the midget of the year. So thank you, Austin.
5'1" on 5'1", who will prevail?
Well, I'm not 5'1", but I will prevail.
In his metrics, you are apparently.
Well, his metrics is if he plays on a basketball court with me, he will be done. Done. Even though my hip is, not 100% anymore. But anyways, thank you to Austin Krell and Chris Bolton. Thank you to Hector and Reno Johnny for joining us for Let's Parlay.
Live from the Alamo Bowl.
That's right, the Alamo Bowl. The Bowl of the year. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the Buckeye curse. Anyways, thank you to all the fans, everybody out there. Listen to our show on Wednesday and Thursday. We will be back next week. Happy New Year to all the fans out there. It has been a wonderful year. Fast year, Speedy. I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old.
Yeah, you're apparently born in 1941.
That's another thing. I saw the Rangers win their last Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you became a
the
Jets
first Stanley Cup.
I don't know how you became a Jets fan when the first franchise didn't even exist then.
There you go. I guess I don't know. Maybe I was I don't know. Maybe I was a Philadelphia fan in my past time.
Yeah, maybe you were. Donovan McNabb's great-grandfather. You got to watch play.
Well, he didn't play for them. Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Thank you to everybody that listens to our show, tunes into our show every single week. Thank you to all the fans tuning into all our shows throughout our network. We really appreciate you guys. Listen to the Weekend Crunch on 103.9 FM. This Saturday, we will not be doing the pregame show for the Islanders because the Islanders are not playing on Saturday for the first time this year. Speedy's going home to Connecticut. Hopefully, he's going to be wearing underwear this weekend.
I will. Don't worry.
And hopefully, they're clean, no streaks, right?
I would hope not.
You said you weren't sure.
I said I wasn't sure, and I'm not analyzing.
Have you ever looked at your underwear before?
Yes, but I'm not going to overanalyze.
Have you ever seen streaks in your underwear?
Yes, but I'm not going to overanalyze it.
And do you clean those streaks?
Eventually, yes.
How many times do you wear it?
I wear it when it's clean again.
Oh, well, so you said eventually. So I'm guessing you wear your underwear for 2 or 3 days.
No, not the same pair.
I don't know. I'm just saying you eventually clean it. So how long does it take you to clean it?
Depends on how much time I have.
Well, I guess you just wear it back-to-back days. Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Listen to us on 103.9 FM at 7:30. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 7 o'clock. I'm sorry. On 103.9 FM. If you don't live here on Long Island or in New York on the FM dial, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio. And all you have to do is put in LI News Radio, and you can tune in at 7 o'clock with us, me and Speedy Petey, Weekend Crunch, as we crunch all the sports into one show. 2 hours, baby. 2 hours. Roof. No singing, Speedy. No more in this.
Nope, no more singing.
No more singing. And by the way, what are you getting on at Applebee's tonight? What are you getting?
I'm not sure yet.
You're still thinking about it? How about a hamburger? You like hamburgers?
Probably not.
Oh, what kind of burgers do you like?
No, I like burgers.
You like beef, right?
Yeah, I'm
You
probably not gonna
thick meat, right? You like thick meat?
Sure.
Yeah. How thick do you like it?
Depends on the circumstance.
Well, it does depend on the circumstance. Anyways, thank you to all the fans. We will see you in the new year on Wednesday. Good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement.